pinaglalagyan po bago po i-deliver dun sa amin.
So kahit maitim na yung face shield, hindi nyo ito tinatabi, hindi nyo ito tinatapon.
Yes, ma'am. Then, sa paggawa po namin dun, amin.
So kahit maitim na yung face shield, hindi nyo ito tinatabi, hindi nyo ito tinatapon.
Na pang, na surgical.
Ah, okay. Kasi yung face shield na yon, hindi ito yung face shield na ano, no?
Ako yung normal na face shield po. Hindi po siya katulad ng normal. Bali, yung face shield po na yun is for doctor and nurses use daw po kasi yan. Kaya po may mga foam siya sa
Dali lang. So yung face shield na pang doctor and nurse, sinasabi mo na hinahawakan nyo lang sa kamay nyo or pwede lang na madumi or yupi-yupi. Tama ba yung pagkakaintindi ko?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Pero paano mo nalaman na para yun sa mga doktor or para sa mga health workers yun?
So yun po kasi ma'am, bali may mga dumarating po kasi doon na face shield na ang nakalagay po sa face shield is for nagkakaroon din po kami ng bali ang nangyari po ng mga reject kasi may dumarating po sa amin na mga face shield ang nakalagay is for kitchen. So ang ginagawa po namin sa for kitchen is sabi po Ma'am Mary Grace, ay ni Ma'am Mary Grace Mago po is i-separate po namin kasi reject daw po yung kasi kitchen po siya. So for kitchen use siya, hindi siya pwede sa sa doktor sa hospital ba? Kasi yung doktor po sa po siya ganun po.
Pero
So,
yung nakapunta sa inyo na nakalagay na hindi nakalagay na for kitchen, kahit madumi na yon, sinasama niya pa din.
Yes, ma'am. Kasi wala po talagang wala po silang pinapatapon sa amin na face shield.
So wala kayong tinatapon na face shield?
Yes, ma'am. Although substandard po siya, kahit po yupi, kahit madumi, kahit po naninilaw, kahit po basa-basa na po. Kasi yung iba po doon, nababasa po kasi gawa po ng tulo sa warehouse.
Teka, yung sinabi mong Mary Grace Mago, yun din ba yung binanggit mong unang pangalan na Crizel Mago? Pareho lang ba yun? Or magkaibang tao?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Same person lang po sila.
Si Mohit Dargani, madalas po siyang pumunta ng warehouse?
Hindi po. Bali si Mohit Dargani po, one time ko lang po siya nakita sa warehouse since na gumawa po kami doon
pero nakita mo siya?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Tapos, yung last question ko na sa'yo, sa pagkakaalam mo, saan pinapadala yung mga face shield na re-repack nyo?
Bali po yung face shield na nire-repack namin after po ng finished good, nilalagyan po namin siya ng sticker na Philippine Government Property. Nakalagay po doon, Department of Health. So, ang idea po namin is sa DOH po. Pero sinabi din naman po sa amin nila, ma'am, na order po siya ng DOH from Family.
Order siya ng DOH for family. And i-know ko lang na ang period na ito ay between August to September 2021, correct?
Yes po.
Okay, sige. Sige, bukod pa sa tinanong ko sa'yo o bukod sa shinare mo pa, meron ka pa bang iba pang gustong i-share sa atin?
So, bali yun po ma'am, yun po yung mga nakikita ko na doon sa ginagawa namin po na face shield. Sobrang po talaga nila talaga. Substandard po nila ginagawa. Yes, ma'am. Sobrang substandard po. Hanggang sa pagdating po sa finished good nila, kahit po yung mga box na ginagawa namin yun is talagang sira-sira na po.
Oo. And yung huling question ko, bakit mo naisipang mag-reach out sa komite, kay Senator Luisa Ontiveros? Bakit mo naisip na importante maparating sa mga Pilipino tong ganitong mensahe tungkol sa mga face shields ng family?
Opo, so yun na nga po kasi ma'am, naririnig ko na rin po kasi sa balita yung about sa naging issue nila sa kasi po parang talagang sobrang anomalya po ng ginawa nila dun sa bidding na nakuha nila dun sa DOH. Then tapos ang gagawin pa po nila is yung mga ipapadala pa po nila mga PC and then mga test kit, PCR test, tsaka mga pa po, is talaga pong substandard po.
So that's the video, Mr. Chairman. And like I said, I won't pose questions at the moment. So just a brief manifestation to close it. There's a need to probe further. Ano ba itong pagpapalit ng certificate Bakit kailangan palitan ang mga certificate? Meron bang tinatakpan? I don't know the answer, so I will just be posing those questions. But what is clearer to me and what should be clear to all is the point made by the witness na yupi-yupi, madumi, naninilaw dahil natutuluan ng tubig ang mga face shield pero hindi pa rin sinasama sa rejects. At ito yung napupunta sa ating health workers. We started these hearings out of concern for the health workers and their special risk allowances and benefits. And now, we're learning na pati sa mga protective gear, dehado sila. Habang ang mga nakinabang, ayan, napakagara ng mga sasakyan, ang sarap ng buhay. So, nasa ng katarungan? Yun lang po, Mr. Chairman. Mamaya na po ako magtatanong pagdating sa round ko. Marami pong salamat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Hontiveros. For the record, this is the first time I saw that, and he just requested that it was very important, and I, out of courtesy, I allowed you to show it, and these are indeed the very revealing facts that have been shown here. I will now be very, very quick and try to summarize what has been happening. This has been a cavalcade of obvious attempts to really provide manifest partiality and evident bad faith or gross inexcusable negligence in the procurement of supplies for our country. And obviously, these have been entered on behalf of the government into allegedly, and they have been manifestly and grossly disadvantageous to the government. And let me just point out, whether or not the public officer profited or will profit thereby, there is obviously manifest and grossly disadvantageous circumstances to the transaction. Mabilis lang po ito. Pagdating sa Chinese companies, ang galing-galing ng ating gobyerno. Hindi man niya dinidepensahan ang mga Pilipinong kumpanya na hinihikayat ni Secretary Lopez ng DTI to unite and produce for the country. Yan po ang una na natuklasan natin sa mga nakaraang hearing. At itutuloy ko lang po ito upang maisagawa ang pangdarambong sa bayan. Kailangan ma-appoint si Lau. At alam natin kung sino nag-appoint kay Lau at Leong, ang presidente ng Pilipinas, sa tamang posisyon sa PSDBM para makontrol nila ang procurement at mapapatunayan natin or napatunayan na yan at marami pang magpapakapal dyan sa patunay na yan. Ang napakapoderoso ng ahensya na yan at ito ay direction nagre-report according to Secretary Abisado sapagkat siya nag-appoint sa ating presidente. Una sasabihin natin dito, sino ang nagpalipat ng 42 billion na pondo sa PSDBM? Hindi naman makakagalaw si Secretary Duque na walang pahintulot sapagkat 42 billion ay hindi loose change siya. Tapos po, ang mga face masks at test kits are intrinsically overpriced. Hindi ko alam kung nalalaman ni Secretary Duque yan na nung binigyan niya ng pansaga niya ng presyo na 2,000 yung mga PPEs ay talagang ang ginawa na lang nitong mga alipores, nitong kampon ng mga nagdadarambong sa ating bayan ay ito ay characterized ng panlilinlang at panglulustay at pang-abuso, fraud, waste, and abuse. PSDBM did not secure goods from where they could get the cheapest manufacturers. Hindi po. At makikita nyo sa recital ng facts, tuloy-tuloy yung 8.8 billion na binenta sa Farmali ay tuloy-tuloy at walang humpay sa loob lamang ng 2 buwan. Tuloy-tuloy halos kumisan every 2 days, every 4 days at ang lalaki ng mga amounts sumabot pa yung isang banat nila ng 3.8 billion pesos. Ito po naman isa, since Farmali is not a manufacturer, bakit tayo bibili doon sa hindi manufacturer? Ang daming patong na dinaanan bago mabili ng gobyerno. Napamahal ang gobyerno. Naglulukuhan tayo dito, mga kapatid. Farmali should have been disqualified from the beginning sapagkat wala siyang qualifications. Malinaw na po yan. At lumalabas dito, nung unang sultado pa lang, March 25 pinirmahan yung batas, April 6 naging effective, pero March 24 si Lincoln Ong nagpunta na at hindi maikaila ni Kailao at March 25 nanghingi na sila ng RFQ, request for quotation, at nanghingi ng supply na 500,000 na test kits at tinuringan pa ng 8 million. Pero malalaman natin, mali ang kwenta. Actually, lumalabas 13.86 million because if you multiply 2772 times 500,000, lalabas 13.86 million at hindi, 9 million. At lumalabas po dito ngayon, ang ginawa kagad ni Andrew sa tulong naman ni Grace Mago ay sabing ganon, manguha na tayo dito at nanguha sila sa Tiger Phil Marketing Corporation na hindi pa napapatunay kung saan galing at mapapatunayan yan. Hindi mapapatunayan kung saan nila kinuha yung 500,000 na yan at pinatungan ng Tiger Phil ng 2390 bago pinasa sa family. At kung tanungin natin ang Tiger Phil ng isang araw, ang sabi nila, binili nila sa dito sa Green Trench at nag-mark up sila ng 9 pesos and 72 centavos sa buuan sapagkat ang pasa nila ay napakababa, 18 pesos sa Green Trench, pumasok sa Parmalee ng 2390 at pinasa ng Parmalee sa gobyerno ng 2792. Paano na-qualify yung Parmalee? Samantalang una palang sultada ay wala na siyang kakayahan na mag-manufacture at yung pala ay talagang nagpapatong lang siya sa mga koneksyon niya. Kung totoo lahat yung sinasabi niya. At mukhang lumalabas ay yung mga binibigay niya mga korporasyon at nung akala siguro nila hindi natin checkin, lumalabas sabi nga ni Director General sa return ng ating mga tauhan na nagpunta doon ay walang mga taong lumalabas sa mga address na yon at iba-iba at sinasabi ng mga tao wala nakatira sa mga ganon. Abangan ang susunod na kabanata sapagkat dyan malalaman talaga at dyan talaga nahulog ang buong mundo kay Lincoln Ong sa pagsisinungaling niya. PSDBM under law, instead of ordering halimbawa itong A-Star Fortitude, ito na po yung mga test kits from a direct supplier where A Accelerate from Singapore na nagturing sa Red Cross ng presyo. Ang turing nila ay lumalabas na 125,368 pesos and 2 cents. Pero nung bilihin na ng Farmly, binigay na sa gobyerno natin nitong Farmly, ang presyo ay umabot ng 366,000. Bakit po? Sapagkat pinagbigyan na naman ng Farmly, hindi nagdirekta doon sa Accelerate sa Singapore na pwede naman gawin. Kunyari, tinatawagan pa ang ambassador ng Pilipinas doon. Pero isang tawag lang sa Singapore mismo doon sa corporation na yan, ay makakakuha sila ng offer lang ay 125,368 at instead napunta sila sa Farmally Indonesia. Doon po nag-supply ng 366,000. Bilhin nyo po, umikot sa buong Asia. Imbes na pumunta sa Singapore na direct supplier, nagpunta sa Farmally Indonesia at yun ay nagpatong ng 240,631 pesos and 98 centavos per kit. Ang lumalabas po ng halaga ay umaabot ng 688 million pesos. Yan po ang binayaran sa Farmally. At tumubo kaagad ang Farmally ng 240,631.98 ang overprice at sana nakuha lang na mas mababa kung sila ay dumirekta. Walang malasakit at walang pasintabi sa pagkasakim sapagkat kinukuha yung pinakamahal, hindi yung pinakamura, pupunta doon sa ahente, hindi pupunta sa direct supplier. At sabi nga ni Senator Montiveros, kailangan nagmamadali tayo at ito ang pinakamabilis na paraan. Naku po, ang lakas ng loob magsinungaling. Para kayong dumura sa langit, tatama sa inyong muka. At tinanong ko na ito noong isang araw, ang sinasabi, ang kapatid na sinungaling ay magnanakaw at ang kapatid na magnanakaw ay mga sinungaling. Ngayon po, lumalabas, nag-procure, binigyan na po sa PSDM na nakaraang hearing na ni Secretary Duque yung pagbili ng face mask. At ginawa naman po, face mask, ang DBM's Farmally ay lumalabas 27 pesos. At yan po ang halaga. Pero ang lumabas po, nakabili pa pala, same time halos, ang DOH, namili sila sa Medical Center Trading Corporation, Philippine Corporation. Namili sila doon at ang halaga po ay 16 pesos lumalabas. 1664. Pero nabili na ngayon si Mr. Lau. Lau ang pera ng gobyerno sa pagkuha dito sapagkat mga kapatid, ang pasa po ay 27 pesos at 72 centavos. Yan po, talagang para mga pating na sinisibasib ang talagang may sugat na gobyerno ng Pilipinas. Talagang sobra talaga. Tama na sana yan, pero tuloy-tuloy pa po tayo, hindi mapigil. Kaya humahaba ang investigasyon. Ito po. Ito naman, SRP of face mask is meant for retail. Yun ang SRP yung binibigay ng gobyerno. Meant for retail and not for wholesale. Kung wholesale, dapat mas mababa. Di po ba? But the same was used as a benchmark to procure mask by wholesale. So, sa mga kapatid, talagang magaling ito si Yusek Lau. Magaling sa overpricing at saka sa pagloloko sa ating bansa. Sa negotiation, kunyari, malalaman natin ngayon sa mga darating na kunyari nagne-negotiate sila at nilulutong Macau nila, kunyari kumukuha sila ng mga ibang supplier pero makikita nyo, iba-iba yung mga supplier. Sasabihin ko na para madali nyo makita mamaya pag nagtanong tayo. Yung mga supplier nila, paulit-ulit, nire-recycle lang po yung dating pinakita na presyo at pagkatapos ibibigay pa rin sa Farmally. Mapapatunayan po natin yan. At mamaya abangan nyo. In a letter dated December 7, 2020, signed by Assistant Secretary of Health Nestor Santiago Jr., directed to Attorney Lloyd Christopher Lau, DOH was requesting for the rescheduling of the delivery of Farmally testing kits because the test kits that were delivered expired. Laus na. Para yung mga face mask na sinasabi ng testigo kanina. Expired yung mga face mask. Many stored BGI test kits were not used. Ito, test kits naman to, were not used and expired because PSDBM accepted Farmally's test kits which were due to expire in 6 months. In contravention of the technical specification of the DOH, the test kits must have a shelf life of 24 to 36 months. Si ASEC Nestor Santiago po ang nagsabi niyan. At ang nagtanong po niyan ay walang iba kundi ang magiting natin senador na Senator Pangilinan. At lumabas po na ito ay overpriced because they could have gotten Farmally's test kits at a lower price due to the fact that it is soon to expire. Dapat may konting kwan. Ilagay nyo na nagmamadali, di unahin nyo na yung malapit ng expire, pero dapat mababa binigay yung presyo. Kung ano-anohong mga contrivance ang ginagawa para makalamang sa gobyerno at sa ating mga kababayan, lalong-lalo na sa mga tao natin na nagugutom at nagkakamatay, nagkakasakit. It should have at least as much as a 20% discount, and yet the full amount was paid. This is also procuring a substandard product. Bukod sa expired, substandard pa. It is going to affect the accuracy of the test. PSDBM could have brought test kits, pangsam ito, from Sansure sa China. Ang lakas naman ng mga kaibigan ng presidente sa China. Bakit ang Red Cross nakakuha sa China? Ang kuha po ng test kits sa China ng Red Cross ay 750 pesos per kit. Ang kuha po ng Farmally sa BGI ay ito. On April 22, ang kuha nila 1,500 pesos. Ang kuha ng Red Cross ay 750 pesos. Ewan ko kung saan nag-aral ng arithmetic ito, pero talagang parang talagang ang lakas magpatong. At pagkatapos, on June 9, ang presyo naman ay naging 1,300 1,900 per test. Pero mababa rin po sa Red Cross, 750 pesos. At diyan kami kumukuha sa mulat sa pool. At binaba na po ng Red Cross kung bumababa ang Sansure. Binababa na po namin 28 pesos na lang po. At papalalahanan ko lang po, nabalabas uli yung sinabi ni Senator Drilon at ng inyong abang lingkod. Nang tanungan kami, nung binibenta ng PhilHealth, yung mga test, ang sabi nila, 8,150 pesos ang bawat test. Legal eagle po ito si Senator Dillon. Tinanong niya, bakit ang mahal ninyo samantalang ang Red Cross pinapasa lang ng 3,500? Ano po ba yon, Mr. President? Underprice or overprice? Kahit na po grade 4 siguro malalaman na ng bata na overpriced talaga yung test lumalabas. So kahit anong depensa nyo, may tama kayo sapagkat hindi kayo tama, may tama kayo sa tao, galit ang tao sa inyo sapagkat 8,150 ang turing ninyo, mabuti nilang nasita ng Senado ang minumura ninyo na tumigil na, nasita yung 3,500 at nagkaroon ng kunus dili itong mga kababayan natin sa PhilHealth. Thank you, Senator Drilon. Ngayon po, other countries were able to buy BGI test kits at a much lower price. Asek Santiago of DOH, ito po yung mga lumalabas sa investigasyon, confirmed the delivery of a large amount of 7,925 of expired test kits. Yun na nga po yung sinabi kanina that were delivered by Pharmaly. Ang undue advantage po na ito ay nakuha dahil sa close relationship. Napakalapit ang mga relasyon ng mga opisyalis ng Pharmaly kay Michael Yang. Nagsinungaling kagad si Michael Yang. Hindi nakatira sa Nara, sa Forest Park si Michael Yang. Huwag na kayong bumalik dito, hindi nakatira yan. Binalikan namin ulit. Hindi nakatira si Michael Yang. Walang taong ganyan dito sa Forest Park. Nung inumangan na siya ng contempt, biglang lumabas si Super Yang. At ang lumabas po kay Super Yang dumating at humingi kunyari ng paumanhin. At ang sabi po ay, ang sabi niya, hindi niya po kilala yung Pharmaly. Bagkus lamang nakilala niya nang dinala niya sa Presidente ng Republika ng Pilipinas sa Davao. At yan ho ay patunay na ito sinabi niya na he doesn't know and he has no relation to Pharmaly. Quote unquote. Ayan, sabi ng Mr. Hung na translator ng Mr. Yang. Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Yang is aware that he is under oath and it is only through the news that he found out. Only through the news that he found out about the existence of Pharmaly Pharmaceutical. Yan, kahit na may video na, sinisinungaling pa, kahit na nasabi na, sasabihin pa niya, hindi niya kilala, nako, si Lincoln Ong bumigay. Mag-ingat ka, Lincoln Ong, sapagkat bumigay ka, sabi mo, kay Lincoln Ong kayo nanghihingi ng pera at ang hindi mo sinabi, Mr. Lincoln Ong, ikaw pala ay translator ni Super Michael Yang. At ang nangyari po, kasama ka pa doon sa mga meeting sa Davao at kasama ka rin sa meeting sa Malacanang o doon sa ibang lugar na kasama ang Pangulo natin. Ito nga yung sinasabi ni Senator Lacson na talagang kasama ka talaga sapagkat ikaw ay translator. Ngayon po, ang lumalabas po ngayon sa ating pagsusuri, ayan o, so hindi totoo, Mr. Michael Yang guarantees, sabi ni Mr. Ong, sabi ni Senator Lacson, so hindi totoo na pinakilala ka lang at tapos na. Tuloy-tuloy ang kanyang participation by way of continuously guaranteeing sa mga suppliers na babayaran sila. Parang utang, sabihin na natin na credit. Ang sagot ni Mr. Ong, Mr. Chairman, I think medyo may na-misinterpreter kanina na I think Mr. Michael Yang also mentioned that he guaranteed for us. Ayan, sa Tagalog, nagkabali raw interpreter at na-miss raw ng interpreter na si Mr. Yang ay naggarantya. Thank you, Senator Lacson, sapagkat doon na uhuli ang isda sa bibig, na lalo na kung siningaling. Doon ho na uhuli. Ngayon po, tuloy po natin ang kwentuhan natin dito na investigasyon na napaka-raing sa tao, nawaraing ang tao. Ito, another sinungaling. Ang due advantage na ito ay nakuha dahil sa close relationship na ni Michael Yang at magpapatunay talagang sinasagad ang relasyon. Si Mr. Mojit Dargani in his LinkedIn page and Mr. Lincoln Ong work for them, Presidential Economic Advisor Michael Yang. At nagpakita ng dokumento. Nakita at makikita nyo mga kababayan doon sa LinkedIn o LinkedIn. Hindi ko alam kung pronunciation. LinkedIn, yun ang pronunciation. At nakalagay po doon sa kanyang account is that he worked as a special assistant at the Office of the Presidential Economic Advisor. Ayon naman, thank you very much sa sipag ni Senator Hontiveros. Ayan, nakita ho ni Senator Hontiveros na sinasabi ni Mr. Dargani, pinangangalandakan niya na siya ay galing sa Office of the Presidential Economic Advisor. Mr. Gargani denies his involvement with the Office of the Presidential Economic Advisor later on. Ang sabi niya ngayon, palusot, he just presumed that he was part of the Office of the Presidential Economic Advisor. Eh, syempre, kung ganyan kalakas, bagyo, eh sasabihin mo, he was not actually extended an appointment. Mr. Gargani, you are under oath, kandidato ka sa false testimony ang mangyayari sa iyo. Ayan ho. At saka usurpation of authority or official functions. Ayan. Ayan ho, nakalagay Enderan Colleges. Ang dami niyang koleksyon. Ang nakalagay formally, Special Assistant at Office of the Presidential Economic Advisor. At ang sabi pa ni Senator Gargani, thank you, Senator Dulon. Sino nagbigay kay Twinkle ng tinatawag natin na Lamborghini? Ang alam ko Lamborghini ay yung Hamburgini. At ako po ay doon lang sa hamburger ng nanay ko kumakain nung araw. Ito Lamborghini na. At ang halaga po ng Lamborghini, nung tanongin siya, ang sabi niya, 18 million lang po yun. 18 million lang. 18 million only. And yun ang sabi po niya, talagang, ang sabi naman ni Twinkle, regalo lang sa kanya. Sabi, donated ba yan? Sabi, it's a gift. Whether it's a gift or a donation, I hope the BIR, and I call the attention of the BIR, dapat may donor tax yan. At lahat ng auto, tinawag na namin ng pansin. Ang balik sa amin ng customs, kunin namin ang body number, yung chassis number, at saka yung engine number. Kinuha na ba yon sa Mr. Director General Rudy Kimbo? Kinuha na ba?
We're still awaiting the response. We have forwarded the chassis and vehicle numbers to the Bureau of Customs. We're still awaiting the response.
Market value nito, 25 million pa. Eh, ang daming kotse, ano po? Tignan pa natin yung ibang kotse ulit para maalalahan ng mga tao. Dahil nabubulag sila. Ayan, 8.5 million kay Mohit Dargani yan. Porsche, ayan, 5 Annapolis Street. Ibalik po natin, registered when? May 7, 2021. Ayan, kita ninyo, kailan nangyari itong mga transaksyon? April 2020. Ayan, last registration date nitong Lamborghini, December 7, 2020, or about a little over 6 months from the time the transactions ng mga 3.2 billion, I think that was in May, na naganap. 3.8 billion, 3.2 billion. Ayan, ang mga 2 million na PPEs. At ito pa, si Lincoln Ong, konti, maraming kotse ito. Pakita na natin ang mga kotse ni Lincoln Ong. Ang kotse ni Lincoln Ong ay Lexus, 5.9 million. July 9, 2021. Hindi makapaghintay eh. O, tapos ano pa? Pakita natin. Ayan. Ito naman. 8.5 million. Porsche. Ba, masarap pala magtrabaho dito sa kay Super Michael Yang. Nakakabili ka ng Porsche. Saan kaya kinuha yung mga yan? At 2019 pa lang yan. Next. 13.5 million. Porsche Carrera. Kulang pa ang isa. Kumuha pa ng Porsche. Ito, February 2, 2021. Nangyari yung mga transaksyon, March, April, May, hanggang December, hanggang May 2020. Ayan, ang ganda ng kotse. Napakaswerte nitong si Lincoln Ong. 13.5 million nirehistro sa LTO. Tanong, ang BIR ba o ang customs? Ito ba pumasok sa mga dealer ng kotse ng Ferrari, ng kotse ng Lamborghini? Abangan ang susunod na kabanata sapagkat yan ay maaaring na smuggling. Hirap na hirap ang taong nagbabayad ng buwis. Tignan natin kung nagbayad ito ng buwis at kung magkano ang binayad nito mga bata na ito. Bata pa, so young, mukhang lumalabas, so corrupt. Sa kabila ng gutom ng mga tao, nagagandaan ang mga sasakyan na Parmali executives at magbibigay lang po ako ng patikim alay kay Senate President Soto at sa ating mga kaibigan na senador. Natanong na ho dito ni Senator Dillon, si Miss Rose Nono Lim. Magwalang galang lang, no? Miss Rose. Ito ang mga papakita ko sa inyo, ang mga kotse nyo sa LTO. Ano po? Ayan, Rose Nono Lim. tingnan ninyo ang address. Ito, January 17, 2020, ang address ay 14 Nara Avenue, South Forbes, City of Makati. Diyan nakarehistro ang ginamit na kotse na Range Rover. 11.9 million. Last registered date, January 17, 2020. Wala pa ako sinasabi, no? Circumstances pa lang ito. Next car, please. 8.9 million, 2018 Cadillac Escalade. Wow, August 2, 2018. Ayan. Rose Nono Lim. Ito naman ang address. 2260 Avocado Street, Dasmariñas Village, City of Makati. Mamaya, tandaan nyo yung address na yan. May papakita ang address sa inyo. Nakasama rin na. Magkakasama sila sa mga bahay na nakukuha nila. Ito naman ngayon. 1590 Cypress, Dasmariñas Village, City of Makati. Lexus. Wow. Di pa ako nakasakay sa Lexus ha. 8.8 million. Ayan po. Oh, sports utility vehicle. Saan naman ang address? 1590. Dati sa Avocado. Napunta sa Dasmariñas Village. Sir, pare-pareho ang Dasmariñas Village yan. July 18, 2019. Next, please. Ayan. July 15, 2020. Toyota Land Cruiser. 4.8 million. Ang address, 18A St. Michael Street, Paradise Village, Quezon City. Wow! July 15, 2020. Katatapos lang ng mga bilihan, April, May, June, July. Dapat kumanta tayo ng Iniro, Pibriro. Talaga sunod-sunod ang pira. Limpak na salapi. Yan ang nangyayari sa ating bayan, mga kababayan. Yaring-yari talaga tayo. So, umpisa na po natin ang tanungan at mamaya na po ako magtatanong para makapagtanong. Unahin na po natin. Based on the last hearing, ay si Senator Lacson ang una. Unless gusto ni Senate President Soto magtanong muna. At yan po ang gagawin natin. Senate President Soto, out of respect to the Senate President, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd rather listen to the questions of Senator and the presentation of Senator Lacson, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Fine, Your Honor. Thank you very much. Senator Lacson, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, after 8 hearings, we have all witnessed allegations of overpriced PPEs, overpriced surgical masks, overpriced face shields or face masks, overpriced test kits, and probably overpriced vaccines. Remember, Mr. Chairman, during our Committee of the Whole hearing, may sinabit po yung DOH na indicative price ng Sinovac vaccines sa Committee on Finance ng Senado. Ang sinasabi nila doon, yung 2 doses ng Sinovac, 3,629.50 or 50 centavos ang 2 doses. Therefore, 1,814 pesos and 25 centavos ang isang dose. Until lumabas yung matrix galing sa Thailand at saka yung sa Indonesia, ang presyo nila under 700. If I'm not mistaken, 683. So, ilan na yung na-procure nating Sinovac vaccines, ilang doses, and we don't know yet kung magkano talaga yung pagkabili natin. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask DOH to explain if there was overpricing also in the procurement of ambulance units, under the HPEP or Health Facilities Enhancement Program funding in 2019. Kasi po, meron kaming nakuha from reliable sources na mukhang may overpricing din yung mga ambulance units with medical equipment. And first, I'd like to ask Secretary Duque, ilan na po ba ang na-procure natin at na-distribute na mga medically equipped ambulance units under the 2019 and if any, under the 2020 HPEP? Yung total po. Secretary Duque, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm just looking at my records of 2019 and 2020. For 2019, ambulance, 98 units. The distribution is as follows: Cavite 22, Laguna 22, Batangas 19, Rizal 14, and Quezon 21. I have the for Calabarzon, the allocation amount per unit, ang binigay po sa akin dokumento rito is 2.5 million. Land ambulance unit 98, and the total allocation amount is 245 million pesos. So
How about
the
in- Yeah. Go ahead po.
So yung po purchase request, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, number 1910-451 dated October 8, 2019. So ang bidders po dito ay ang SNS Enterprise Incorporated, nakalagay dito disqualified, ineligible, non-submission of JVA, I suppose this means joint venture agreement, and SLC, which is a standby letter of credit. And then the next bidder is was the One Tap Medical Systems Resources Incorporated. So disqualified, expired tax clearance of the JVA. Tapos nakalagay po dito, filing of motion for reconsideration. So there are dates here: November 15, November 18, November 21.
Okay, Secretary Duque. How about in other regions? Ilan po yung procure at na-distribute? Sa Calabarzon lang kayo nag-distribute?
I'm sure hindi lang po ito Calabarzon, but I'm still looking at the documents right now. Ito po sa na-distribute po ito sa CAR 12 units, NCR 102, Region 1 42, Region 2 31, all the way to ARM,
Local
BARM.
na lang po, Secretary Duque, buong Pilipinas, ilan yung units na na-distribute ninyo sa mga LGUs from the 2019 HFEP funding?
841 po ang numero na binigay sa akin, at meron pong breakdown yung ilan yung
Sabihin nyo na lang po yung breakdown para mapabilis
sir.
tayo.
Yes, sir.
Now,
We will do that, sir.
Mr. Chairman, on the screen, ito po yung prototype kasi nung nagkaroon ng interview noong September 4, prototype yung pinakita, pero ang actual na deliver ng DOH sa LGU yung nasa kanan sa screen. Now, yung actual donated ambulance, ito po yung presyo. Next slide. 2.5 million. Ngayon, yung LGU, one particular LGU, nag-procure ng sarili. Kinopya niya po yung dinonate ng DOH. Pareho-pareho. Kasi ang hindi kasama doon sa donation, yung tinatawag na defibrillator, ano yan?
Defibrillator, Mr. Chairman. Defibrillator.
External automatic external defibrillator, AED. Pero yung BLS, yung basic life support, nandyan din lahat. Ang bili ng ang procured price ng LGU na sinasabi ko, 1.5 million pesos per unit. So, lumalabas na merong overpriced na 1 million per unit. Parehong-pareho kung ano yung dumating sa kanila from DOH, yun din ang kanilang binili. Now, hindi po kami nagkasya doon. Ang ginawa namin, kumuha rin kami ng mga comparative values of land ambulance units. Pareho rin po. So, kinuha namin yung procurement ng LGU, 1.5. PCSO, nag-procure din, 1,585,000 plus pesos. Ang private sector, ganun din, bumili rin, 1,650,000. Ang tanong ko po, bakit ang layo naman ng diferensya ng presyo pagka DOH ang bumibili compared do sa binila ng mga ibang entities?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ang nakalagay po rito sa akin ay ang difference between the CHD procured ambulance. Ang bumili po nito, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors, ang Region 4A, Calabarzon. Meron po kaming comparative figures and features ng mga ambulansya.
Andyan na po yan, nasa screen kanina.
Number of
Yung
equipment.
LGU procured ambulance, kinumpara namin doon sa actual DOH donated ambulance. Wala pong diferensya yan kasi kinopya nila. Kasi yung dumating sa kanila, although nakalista na dapat na doon yung AED, pero dito pinadala sa kanila, walang AED. So yung sa kanilang binili, wala ring AED. So pareho-pareho.
Mr. Chairman, I have with me here the listing that I would love to share. Yung kasi nakalagay sa binili ng Region 4A, 30 klase ng mga equipment ang nakalagay po dito. Bibigay po namin sa inyo yung listahan.
Ayan na po, nasa screen na. Yung parehong equipment ng DOH donated units plus equipment at saka yung LGU ambulance o yung procured ng LGU, pareho-pareho po yung laman nila kasi kinopya nga po. Anyway, we're talking of 841 units. Ano? So easily, nawala na noon yung gobyernong 841 million pesos kung 1 million yung diferensya. Ang sabi ko nga po, hindi lang kami nagkasya doon sa LGU procured price. Kumuha rin kami ng comparison doon sa private sector, private entity, pati yung sa PCSO. Talagang hindi naglalalayo sa 1 million ang diferensya nung binili ng DOH. So yun po yung sana maipaliwanag at para mapagbigyan natin yung mga ibang kasamahan ko rin, sana maipaliwanag nyo lang siguro in writing. Ano? Now, yung specifications na andyan, alam nyo, pag bumili yung private sector, tingi-tingi ang tawag natin doon, retail. So pagka in bulk or fleet ang binili nyo, I suppose, mas mura pa dapat ang pagkabili ninyo. Ito po yung laman, no? Yung automated external defibrillator, ang presyo nga 100,000, kinodo na namin to eh. Ang lumalabas, 174,450. So, pati yung sasakyan, talagang hindi po aabot ng 2.5 million. So ito po yung gusto maliwanagan ng komite, bakit lagi na lamang pagka yung gobyerno bibili, in this particular case, yung DOH o PSDBM, bakit talagang napakamahal ng presyo ninyo kumpara sa iba? So isa lang ang pwede natin makonclude dito, pagka may overpricing, hindi po ba may kumikita?
Mr. Chairman, salamat po. Ito pong dokumentong nasa harap ko, 30 ang bilang ng mga equipment na kasama doon sa DOH Region 4A procurement. Samantalang ito pong pinakita nyo kanina, parang asa 17. Kung pwede ko ipakita ulit, Mr. Chairman. 17 yan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
174,450.
Na binibilang ko po yung
yan, Secretary Duque, pinag-aralan na ng staff ko yan.
Yes, sir.
So, i-compare nyo kung ano yung equipment na nasa loob ng inyong ambulansya, pareho ng nasa loob ng na equipment doon sa mga pinrocure ng LGU, private sector, at saka yung, hindi ako sigurado sa PCSO, pero at least yung private sector at saka yung LGU, kasi kinopya nga po nila exact replica.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we will submit to you the details of the documents that have been submitted to my office. And hindi ko po alam yung mga detalye kasi mga iba rito dahil yung brand, hindi ko po alam kung ano yung kanilang mga iba pang pagkakaiba.
Ang brand po pareho, lahat ng brand. Kung ano binili nyo, pareho ng binili noong pinapakita namin sa screen. Wala hong diferensya. Kami na nagsasabi sa inyo kasi masusi namin pinag-aralan nito.
Yes, sir.
So, ang gusto ko sana marinig sa inyo, paimbestigahan ninyo tulad ng
Yes, sir. Of course, sir.
overstocking, expired, nearing expiry, ang pinadala nyo sa aming explanation, parang dinitalyo nyo lamang. Pero alam niyo, Secretary Duque, hindi ko na nga inumpisan sa 2016 yung overstocking, yung mga drugs at saka medicines. Sinimulan ko na nga ng 2013 para lang sabihin natin hindi mai-highlight para maipakita na baka naman yung sindikato, quote unquote, sa loob ng DOH, na-outlive na nila yung mga sekretaryo. Na pag may dumating na bagong sekretary, entrance talaga yung sindikato kasi nandiyan lagi ang overpricing. Yung po sanang gusto naming matingnan ninyo ng maayos para ma-uproot at saka matanggal yung sindikato sa loob ng departamento. Kasi nga, pre-pandemic at saka during the pandemic, parang hindi nagbabago yung pagbili ng mga expired medicines, tapos yung overpricing. Yung sana po gusto kong, ang hinihiling namin sa inyo, nagawa nyo ng karampatang aksyon. Di ba po yung unang-unang pagdinig natin, yan na yung hiningi ko sa inyo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will do that, sir.
Sana po.
Yes, sir. Maraming salamat po doon sa inyong recommendation at sisiguraduhin ko po matutukan ito, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors.
Yan, nabanggit na rin po noon na ayoko maniwala na kasapakat kayo doon sa kung meron man sindikato. At sana inaasahan ko na gawan nyo ng paraan na ma-uproot, ma-expose at mahinto yung sindikato sa DOH. Yan po pagkakausap nyo yung mga taga-DOH mismo at saka yung mga sabihin natin mga nagsusupply, alam naman nila na talagang merong nag-e-exist yan na hindi kanais-nais, lalo na sa area ng procurement. So, yun po, Mr. Secretary.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman. Tututukan po natin ito at titingnan ko rin po kung meron po kayong mga dokumentong hawak, makakatulong po sa amin na makapag-umpisa nitong mga pagsisiyasat nitong kung meron nga bang sindikato rito sa departamento. Salamat po, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Now, shifting to another topic, Mr. Chairman, if I still have the time. Yung sa Tiger Field, may we know from the Tiger Field representative kung ano yung total amount of sales earned by Tiger Field in relation to its transactions with Parmalee in 2020?
Mr. Albert C. Tiger Field. Tiger Field? Ito, Albert C.
Yes, Honor.
There is a question from Senator Lacson. Can you please raise your voice a bit? Go ahead, Senator
Yes,
Lacson.
Honor.
Yes, total amount of sales earned by Tiger Field to sa Parmalee, yung transactions niyo with Parmalee in 2020.
21,510,000.
21,510,000.
510,000.
Kasi if we look at your audited financial statement for year 2020, yung declared amount of sales, nasa 3.479 million lang. When in fact, you have sold face masks to Parmalee amounting to at least, yes, 25 million, 21.5 million pesos. Can you explain this discrepancy, Mr. C?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, between 3.479 million do sa inyong audited financial statement for 2020, malaki diferensya nito do sa 21.5 million. So kindly explain.
Mr. Chairman, nabayaran na po namin ngayon araw yung amended VAT return at yung amended annual.
Ngayong araw lang na ito.
Opo, Mr. Chairman.
So how much tax did you pay in relation to this transaction?
553,886.88 amended return.
Amended.
Amended annual income tax return 1,138,680.5 po, Mr. Chairman.
Now, if the Blue Ribbon Committee did not conduct the hearing, would you pay the amended
Huh?
tax returns or payment?
We already paid.
Would you have amended if the Blue Ribbon Committee did not conduct hearings on Parmali?
Yes po, Your
Kasi
Honor.
ngayon lang araw kayo nag-amend.
Opo, Your Honor, nagbayad po.
So, kindly give us an honest answer. Kung hindi po nagkaroon ng pagdinig na ganito, would you have paid or would you have amended?
We will pay. We will pay.
You will pa rin.
Opo.
Eh, why just now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why just now? It's not answerable by yes or no. Ang tanong is why?
Nagbayad po kami.
Never mind, Mr. C. Hindi mo rin masasagot yan eh.
With the permission of Senator Lacson,
Yes, sir.
may I call on the BIR Commissioner? You have already issued and closed down all the auditing by the BIR. Is that correct, sir? May I have the BIR Commissioner, please? Na-audit nyo na po ito eh. Kung na-audit nyo na, hindi na sila pwede mag-amend. Tama po ba yun, sir?
Tama po yan. Kung they have just a certain period to amend the return, if it's out of that period, then hindi na sila pwedeng mag-amend. Pwede nang kasuhan yan.
Ayan. Dapat po kasuhan nyo na. Talagang they're trifling with our laws. Di po ba?
We're auditing them, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you po. Thank you. So Albert, nagsisinungaling ka. Na-audit na kayo. Pagkatapos ngayon, pinapalitan mo. Pagkatapos ka ma-audit. Dahil ba na-imbestiga kayo? Albert C., please. Remember, you already are going to be audited and investigated. Tapos under oath ka, pag nagsinungaling ka pa rito, meron ko pang tatamaan ka pa ng ano sagot? False testimony, di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I asked a question if only to, underscore the importance of these hearings that you are conducting under your leadership, under your chairmanship. Kasi, ayan, humabol sila, maski pa paano nagbayad, maski may kaso na rin. So, hindi totoong wala nangyayari sa mga pagdinig natin dito, Mr. Chairman.
Totoo po yan. In fact, sir, I raised that issue last time and this guy was very evasive. And if you look at the way he's behaving, napaka-halting ng answer. Talagang binago talaga nila. Mabibisto sila eh. Talagang hindi nyo minamahalagaan ang gobyerno.
Mr. Chairman, this is the first time na nakarinig ako ng sagot na yes sa tanong na why.
Well,
anyway, Mr. Chairman, inaaliw na lang natin sarili natin dito. Now, Mr. Lau and Mr. Ong. Mr. Lau and Mr. Ong. Sabi ni Mr. Ong, he met for the first time with Mr. Lau sa PSDBM on March 24. Mr. Ong, do you confirm this?
Yes po.
Okay. Now, that was the first time, probably the first and only time that you met with Attorney Lau, correct?
If I may recall, yes po.
Okay. Now, PSDBM emailed a request for quotation for 5 lots of surgical masks. One of the lots, yun yung mag-supply ng 500,000 masks with Parmali won, di ba? 500,000. Ang unit per price 28, di ba? Yun ang base price na binigay ng PSDBM. At yung contract, merong approved budget na 8 million pesos. Correct?
Yes po.
Now, in a matter of 2 hours and 55 minutes, kasi between 2, anong time yun? Between 2:24 and 5:19 p.m., tinanong ito ni Chairman Gordon, nakadeliver na agad kayo ng 500,000 surgical masks at 27.72 per piece or a sum of 13,860,000 pesos. Ayan, nandyan. Ano? Now, ang tanong dito is, sino yung na-contact ni Miss Bago sa PSDBM? Exactly, kasi palitan ng email ito eh. Ang bilis ka ng email, delivery ka agad. No, and I forgot to ask Mr. C. Lumabas kanina na fictitious yung address ng Green Trends, ano? So, how were you able to contact Green Trends na fictitious yung address? Eh, yung aming OSA, yung aming Director General, hindi nga malocate yung address. Paano nyo na-contact yung Green Trends para masupplyan kayo ng face mask?
Mr. Chairman, ang kausap ko po si Tiger Phil.
No,
I'm not aware.
Mr.
No,
Ong.
no, Mr. Ong, the question is addressed to Albert C. Albert C, please answer.
Sorry po.
Mr. Albert C. Mr. Albert C. Ang camera.
Mr. Chair, can we answer? Yeah, we would like to answer on behalf of Mr. Albert C.
No, no, no. The question is addressed to Albert C.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ayun naman. Your
Ano
Honor,
sagot mo, Albert C?
si Kay Jinking po ang kausap ni Lincoln Ong.
Sino ang kausap niya?
Si Kay Jinking po.
Ah,
Tiger.
Senator Lacson, sige na. Binapasa na naman yung bola. Would you accept the question, the answer to be given by an imported Chinese player from China? By the name of...
Lahat naman ng sagot, Mr. Chairman, not acceptable eh.
Oo nga eh. Si...
Now, Miss Mago.
Hinala pa ng tiga-China yung supplier kasi sa kay Albert C.
Now, as you pointed out correctly, Mr. Chairman, kung dumirekta lang yung PSDBM do sa Green Trends, magkano na sana natipid doon sa 500,000 masks? Kasi tumubo yung tumubo yung Tiger Phil, tumubo rin yung Parmali, di ba? Isang 1.9 million, isa 2.5 or 2.9 million. So, yung sana natipid ng gobyerno. So, yung Parmali lang ang maliwanag na may contact kasi sila nakaalam kagad eh na nangangailangan ng medical supplies yung PSDBM na dapat nabalitaan din ng Tiger Phil or even Green Trends kung talagang existing yung Green Trends.
That is assuming that Mr. Lincoln Ong is telling the truth. Because
Yes, anyway.
mas tama kayo sa tanong nyo, Senator Lacson, in 3 hours, naka-deliver sila. Hahanapin mo pa itong si Tiger Phil, tapos hahanapin mo pa itong si Green Trends na hindi natin makita. Ngayon, makaka-deliver ka agad ng 3 hours. Now, Lincoln Ong, you're obviously lying.
Yes, at the time when Attorney Lau and even Mr. Lincoln Ong claimed that there was scarcity of supply of face masks. Di ba yan ang unang hearing natin, yun ang sinabi nila? Kaya pumatol sila sa mataas ng presyo. Now, it appears na hindi ganun ka-scarce yung supply. Kasi nga in a matter of under 3 hours, naka-deliver eh. Ready yung supply.
Lincoln, kung sabi ka na ng totoo at lalabas lahat siya, marami pa kami itatanong sa'yo, mas mahirap.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, kasi alam nyo, pagka patuloy na nagsisinungaling si Mr. Lincoln Ong, well, the committee might decide to transfer him to Pasay City Jail instead of enjoying life here in the Senate.
That's correct.
So I would suggest strongly to Mr. Ong to, when you sleep tonight, medyo pag-isipan mo mabuti kung medyo ibabangon mo yung iyong, sabihin natin yung sarili mo, to see the light. Para kung magkaroon tayo ng sunod na pagdinig, I would suggest that you tell the truth, the whole truth. Kasi yun ang oath mo eh. when you first took your oath, when you were administered your oath, sinabi mo to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Anyway, for Mr. Mago, Miss Mago, I'm sorry. Yeah, di ba you received the email from PSDBM?
Yes po, Your Honor.
Okay. Who was your direct contact sa PSDBM?
Based on our records, Mr. Chairman, the email came from Mr. Patrick Magpantay.
Patrick Magpantay.
Yes po.
Now, ang sunod na tanong ko sa iyo, Miss Mago, no? Why did you still respond to PSDBM's email when the day before you already delivered what was asked of your company? What was your purpose in still sending that response to PSDBM? It's all
Mr.
water under
Chair-
the bridge because naka-deliver na kayo, di ba?
Yes po, Mr. Chairman.
But why did you have to respond back?
Yes, I responded to the RFQ email based on the instructions of our management po.
No, kanina merong claim, yung napanood nyo naman siguro yung video na pinalabas ni Senator Ontiveros, di ba? And your name was
Yes.
prominently mentioned. How would you respond to that?
Mr. Chairman, I would have to watch the video again because I believe there are a few or even more allegations that I'm not sure if I heard it correctly. But then with the regards to the changing of the stickers of the items, my response would be that this was a supply concern. I raised this concern to our management and that was the solution that was given to us.
Mr. Chairman, with the permission, she therefore confirms that they actually were doing it.
Yes,
With
Mr.
the permission of-
Chairman.
Go ahead.
That is something
she
that I
admitted?
cannot deny.
Senator Pangilinan.
No,
admitted?
I just made a manifestation, and with the permission of the Senator Lacson, I'm just placing on record. She just admitted that they were actually switching the expiry dates because that was, as I understand, instructions of management. Palitan yung expiry date from 2020 to 2021. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. That is something that I cannot deny.
So you were swindling the government. Ms. Mago.
Mute mo.
I believe so, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me?
I believe that is the case, Mr. Chairman.
So you admit that you and Parmali were swindling the government. Niloloko nyo ang taong Pilipino. Nahuli ka na ni Senator Lacson. Nahuli ka na ni Senator Pangilinan. Nahuli ka na namin. Meron pa ako itatanong sa'yo. Baka lalong mahulog ka na dyan sa silya mo.
As a follow-up, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go
who
ahead, sir.
ordered you to give that instruction to the warehouse man? Since you admitted already that you gave the instruction, now who instructed you to give that instruction? I suppose it was not in your on your own initiative that you gave that instruction, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Who instructed you?
The instructions came from our management po.
Who particularly?
I received the instructions from the PPC management, particularly Mr. Mohit Dargani.
Mohit Gargani.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
She said she received instructions from Mohit Gargani, sir. That means Mohit Gargani is now a principal also. Yes, Senator Pangilinan.
Yes, with the permission of Senator Lacson, were there other items apart from medical grade face shields wherein you likewise were instructed to change the expiry date, Ms. Maga?
Mr. Chairman, if my memory serves me right, I believe it is only for this project, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, that is if your memory serves you right. In other words, you could be wrong or your memory may be failing, but in fact, there were others. You are
Okay.
probably not sure, you don't know for a fact.
Please allow me some time to verify po the details of our other projects, and
Yes. In other
I
words,
will get back to
yes.
you.
Grace,
Yes.
Grace, you're a Filipino.
Yes po,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
you're a Filipino. I think you're a good lady who wants to get up in life. Nasama ka dyan sa mga mayayaman na tao na kayang mabuhay ng sarili nila. Ikaw, you're still struggling, I suppose. And I have other evidence that I'm going to confront you with. So, kung pwede lang, kung natin pahabain, dahil sinasabi ng presidente na kami mga nagluloko rito, walang mangyayari dito, sinungaling kami, tumulong ka na sa bayan. Bayan ang pinag-uusapan dito talaga, Iha.
Yes po, Mr. Chairman. I'm very willing to cooperate po.
Yung tinatanong ni Mr. Pangilinan, Senator Pangilinan. Go ahead.
Yes, and with that manifestation, Senator, Mr. Chairman, perhaps we can request the Senate President and the Sergeant at Arms, if it's possible, to provide security for Ms. Mago, should she be willing to fully cooperate. Earlier, Ms. Mago, sabi ni Senator Lacson, the whole truth. Hindi naman sinabing, do you swear to tell part of the truth? Hindi ba? Kasi you're telling part of the truth. Inamin mo na meron kang na inutos sa'yo na palitan yung mga expiry dates from 2020 to 2021 ng mga face shield na ibinigay sa ating mga frontliners kasi medical grade yun eh. So maaari dahil yung ganong klaseng quality ay substandard, maaari merong mga nurse at mga doktor na nagka-COVID at namatay dahil sa substandard na dapat sanay medical grade na face shields dahil nga pinalitan ng expiry date at binigay yung quality na hindi tama. Kaya yon inamin mo na. Diyan pa lang ay meron ka ng pananagutan. Pero kung ikaw ay magiging telling the whole truth, then we might be able to provide you, or we should be able to provide you the necessary security to protect you as you cooperate. I yield the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Pangilinan. Senator Lacson, would you have another question? Because I'd like to confront her also. Go ahead.
Sir, I would just like to be clarified further, no? Kasi yung first contract, diba 12 days after the supplies were delivered, saka pa lang lumabas yung purchase order, no? So my question is it a regular practice in PSDBM that deliveries precede the release of the purchase order? Ang pagkaalam ko sa purchase order, ito yung contract eh. So ito yung na perfect na yung kontrata. That's the reason why a PO is released. But if we look at the timelines, 12 days after ng delivery, saka pa lang na-release yung PO. So my question is, and this may be answered by either Mr. Ong, kung meron silang experience in the past, regular practice ba ito? Or even PSDBM, if they can respond. So, is it the first time that you issued the PO after the delivery of the supplies had been made? Anybody? Mr. Ong or PSDBM?
Mr. Chairman, Lloyd Lau po.
Attorney Lau? Yes, please.
Mr. Lau, this scenario kasi happened when the letter of instruction was sent to us, a letter of intent was sent to us by Mr. Ong, stating that they have on hand items. This is similar to what happened dun sa 50,000 na initial na nabili natin na surgical face mask as early as, I think, March. Basta mauna yun si ano eh. I'll just get the record. I think nauna to si... I'll just give me 1 second. Si ano po? Si New Life at around 50,000 and si Phil Pharma Wealth 100,000. Nauna po to. March 2020 si New Life. When they bring the items to us, they would show na, oh, meron kaming on hand if you want to buy. So, pinapakita nila sa amin. 50,000 is just a little. So, pwede nilang iuwi. Yung kay formally po, on the 24th, nagpadala silang letter of instruction. Their offer was 900,000 pieces and on hand siya. So, since March 9 until March 24, 50,000 lang ang nakuha namin, na nabili namin. So, it's a very long time. It's very frustrating for our office. So, when he offered, I made a challenge. O sige, if it's on hand, show it to me. In fact, I was expecting that they would show it on March 24. They delivered it on March 25 after office hours. Ni-receive ng mga staff namin. And I was informed, sir, may pinakita talaga dito items. Ang dami pala ng volume na pinakita. So sabi ko, sige. But sabihin nyo, we have to follow the process. So the process was continued. Since they participated in the procurement process of PSDBM, doon lang sila nanalo. After April 6, on April 6. So doon lumabas ang contract. So yung delivery nila is not actually a document that we issued to them. They let us sign an unofficial document na meron silang iniwan. So there is no commitment on PSDBM to get it or not. Kasi we have to process it. The problem kasi during that time is we are running on the system under RA 9184, but we are already procuring under emergency procurement. Then we are also procuring on March 25. Nag-ano na tayo, naging bayanihan. So ang problema doon, everybody does not know that much on the system. So pati yung ICAR namin, i-explain ng mga tao namin what happened, yung inspection and certification acceptance report. Kaya April 6 na siya lumabas kasi inantay yung process. So nung lumabas na siya talaga panalo, na-issue yung notice of award, na-issue yung PO, that's the time we utilize the items and made use of it na binenta natin sa mga government agencies, NGAs, LGUs, which in fact during that time naubos din. Mabilis na ubos yan. The items we procured in April was actually consumed in April. Now,
Attorney,
ano lang?
let me
Yes.
cut you short. Sorry, no?
I
Kasi
understand.
para makapagtanong din yung iba. So all this discussion took place on March 24 when for the very first time you and Mr. Ong met in PSDBM. Itong narrate mo na discussion, it all took place on March 24 when Mr. Ong first met you in your office.
Yeah, actually that was the challenge.
You're very comfortable with the commitment.
Ano
You
ba?
accepted the challenge in spite of meeting Mr. Ong for the very first time. Naniwala ka agad na sige, mag-deliver kayo, maski walang PO, at babayaran kayo.
No, I did not make an offer to pay. I challenged him when he said, meron kaming on hand. And I said, oh, pakita mo kung totoo. It's the same thing with New Life because that's what they offered. Now, I'll just make it clear, Mr. Chairman, na like the procurements we had, like this one, is on hand. Kasi yung DOH kasi na April 18 na award or April 20 na award, April 20, 2020 na award na 3 million pieces at 16 pesos, the delivery was actually made on May 18 and May 19, 2020, a month after. So it's the same type of procurement that we had with EMS at 30.
You're going into all sorts of directions, which is a sign of a wriggling worm.
No,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ikot-ikot ka na eh. Senator, mga Pangilinan?
Yes, very quickly, Mr. Chair. Again, his earlier manifestations in previous hearings about the effectivity of Bayanihan 1, about Republic Act 9184. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I suggest we get a matrix and put them together. It will establish that Mr. Lao has been inconsistently mouthing different laws, different legal arguments, moving from one to the other and trying to mislead this committee, Mr.
Thank you very much, Senator Pangilinan. We don't have to, but it's obvious that is trying to wiggle himself out of the situation. The fact is they paid it. They paid it. Ang bandang huli, they paid it. Yun lang ang pinag-uusapan dito, binayaran lang nang wala silang chine-check. Yun ang talagang gross negligence. Yun ang nakalagay sa anti-graft law. At nakalagay sa lahat ng rules and regulations. Dapat, kahit na nagmamadali kayo, hindi tinanggal yung due diligence. Alright? Yun ang malinaw.
Last point, para mapagbigyan yung mga ibang kasama natin, Mr. Chairman. Ito, I'm flashing on the screen yung September 13 testimony ni Attorney Lau. Ano? Attorney Lau said that the office, that the PSDBM was shocked when formally delivered the masks on March 25. He also said, no, and I would like to quote, no, hindi namin bibilin yan, but at least you have proof that you were able to deliver. That's it. But in spite of that, they paid.
Now,
Correct.
there is no
Correct.
commitment to buy it when it was delivered because that was show of proof and they have to follow the process. Now, based on the process, sila ang nanalo on one lot. That's why they were awarded on an issue and notice of award and purchase order on April 6. So based on the process, syempre kung manalo sila, they will be paid. But they got paid, I think, April 17 or April 20. I'm not sure when they were paid, but they were paid much later after po the
April
process.
15. April 15.
Yes, April 15. April 15.
Of course, you did that kahit ang kapital nila 625,000.
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
that.
because the point is that we need the items
Kahit na
fast.
625,000 lang, tinanggap mo, binayaran mo, kahit na saan ka sumuot, 625,000 lang ang kapital. Abogado ka eh.
Yes, sir.
Ano ka? Hindi ka na nag-iisip?
I was using my common sense. They have the items with
Common sense is part of the law?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
this is common sense. Ano? After saying that he would not pay for it, instead of paying them 8 million under the RFQ, no? Ang binayaran 13.87 million. That's common sense, Mr. Chairman.
Labag sa kalooban niya yan, Senator Lacson. Napilitan lang siya.
Let me clarify.
The floor to the next interpolator. So, para lahat tayo may pagkakataon na magtanong.
Yes, I'd like to go back to Grace Mago, please. Grace Mago, if with the permission of Senator Lacson, please don't leave us, Secretary, because you were the one who started this thing with Grace Mago and along with Senator Pangilinan. Grace, you look like a very, very good lady. You know, alam kong mahirap ang buhay. You want to get a leg up on everybody and may pagkakataon na talagang dito, ano yan eh? May trabaho ka, mga mayayaman yung pinagtatrabaho mo, sumunod ka lang sa kanila, di ba? May choice ka ba? Sumunod ka lang sa kanila, di ba?
Mr. Chairman, I am an employee po.
Excuse me?
I am an employee po, so I have to follow instructions.
Sabi ko nga sa'yo, nagtatrabaho ko dyan sa mga mayayaman na yan. Ang totoo niyan, inamin mo na ginawa ninyo yun, na yung mga expired, pinapapalitan nyo, hindi mo naman gagawin yun. Mukhang matinong babae ka eh. Pero, ang totoo niyan, nahikayat ka, sayang yung trabaho ko, at sige, susundin ko na lang. Totoo ba yan?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, what was
Because I'm
the
about to
question
confront
po?
you with something. I don't want to do that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I wasn't able to understand the question po. If
Grace, ikaw nagtatrabaho ka, masipag na tao ka, magaling ka magsalita, magaling ka mag-computer, kasama mo ay talagang malalaking tao, magaganda ang mga kotse, nasa mga gandang tahanan, nakakita sila ng pagkakataon talagang sibasibin yung ating bayan. Hindi ko siguro pa alam yun at that time, pero sabi niya, sige na, konti lang ito, pumayag ka na. Meron pa ba silang inutos sa iba? Para makatulong ka na sa amin. Alam ko makakatulong ka sa amin.
Mr. Chairman,
Ikaw may ipit eh.
Opo, Mr. Chairman, I earlier requested for some time to verify a few details regarding the request of Senator Pangilinan.
Well, napakasimple lang ng mga tanong. Pag-iisipan pa ba yan? Meron bang ibang pagkakataon na inutusan ka pa gawin yan? Tingnan mo kanina, may napakita si Senator Ontiveros. Lalabas yan. Sabihin, pinapalitan yung mga face mask, lukot-lukot. Ang dumi-dumi, nahawakan. Ngayon, lumabas naman ito, pinapalitan yung expiry date. Ganun rin yung sa kabila. Ikaw rin ang tinuturo sa kabila. Dalawa na yan. Gusto bang mapasubo ng husto? Ayoko naman mapasubo ka. Where did you graduate, by the way? Saan ka nag-graduate? Anong eskwela?
I graduated from St. Paul University, Philippines po.
You know, my wife went to St. Paul's. Good school. I used to serve mass there. Nagsisimba Nung bata ako, mimisa sila Father Reuter dyan. Ako sa Kristan. Alright? My wife was in the dorm in St. Paul's in Iran. Doon ka ba sa Iran? Yeah?
Sa main campus po, sa Cagayan Valley.
Cagayan Valley. O, magaling rin yun. Kasama yan, mga St. Paul nuns, di ba?
Mr.
Yes,
Isa
Chairman,
pa ako, may auntie ako na madre.
Mr. Chairman,
So, yes.
my wife went to St. Paul.
Right. And
Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Lacson, did your wife go to St. Paul also?
No, Mr. Chairman, just to close my interpellation, at least in the segment, I'd like to ask Mr. Dargani. Do you
Sige, go ahead.
confirm
Yes.
that
Si Grace.
you
Please
gave
pag-isipan mo, Grace, ha?
Mago-
Yes,
Yeah,
po,
Mohit
Mr. Chairman.
Dargani.
Okay,
Do
sige,
you
thank you.
confirm that you gave instruction to Miss Mago as she stated earlier?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I would like to say that actually the instruction did not come from me. I believe it was Crizel asked it in our group if if this is doable. But if the instruction came from me, it did not come from me, Your Honor.
So it's either you or Miss Mago ang nagsisinungaling.
Maybe
Isa lang,
in Miss Mago's
magkaiba ang
memory.
statement niyo, either
I
one
think-
of you is telling a lie.
I think for Miss Mago, I think because she always used to getting instructions from me, maybe in this scenario, she named
Okay,
me,
Miss Mago.
but it's not the case.
Miss Mago, please.
Yes,
Do you
po.
stand by your earlier statement that you were instructed by Mr. Dargani to give the instruction to the warehouse man?
Mr. Chairman, I always follow instructions po. But allow me to check also on our records or conversations to verify this po. But generally po, as an employee, I always follow instructions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just earlier you said it was Mr. Dargani, Miss Maga. Ngayon you're saying you're following instructions. So are you also changing again your testimony? I mean, baka pwede naman nating, di ba? Ano ba talaga yung totoo? Kasi pabago-bago eh. Si Mr. Dargani ba nagsabi sa iyo o hindi?
I am not changing my statements, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So,
So
it was Mr. Dargani, all right?
Yes, Mr. Dargani is, Mr. Chairman, the good lady here has made an admission against interest. And under jurisprudence, as we lawyers are familiar, admission against interest carries a lot of weight.
That's correct.
And Mr. Gargani, on the other hand, is making a general denial. And we all also know as lawyers that a general denial is very,
Very weak.
very weak. Perhaps, Mr. Dargani, you can rethink your answer because that is, again,
I hope you realize, Mr. Bergani, that you are in deep water already. And
Yes, Your Honor.
you will cooperate because you cannot lie your way out already. I would suggest that you tell the truth already. And I'm not trying to sweet talk you. It is very important at this point in time. Whatever you said under oath will be taken by another, and this time in a court of law, in a criminal proceeding.
Yes, Your Honor. Like what I said, the instructions did not come from me. I know that I'm under the oath, and I'm speaking the truth here, Your Honor, that no instructions came from me.
On 2 occasions, your name has been brought up, one in the warehouse, and now this one. Okay, it's up to you. All right.
I think as mentioned also by that witness who we don't even know and we're willing to face head on, he only mentioned that we only saw him, or he saw me only once. I don't even know who he is.
Don't worry, we will present that witness, right,
Mr.
Senator Antiveros? We will present that witness. Don't worry.
yes. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a quick manifestation on the point raised by Mr. Dargani. Excuse me, Mr. Dargani, but your employee already admitted to doing it, to instructing it. So you're trying to question the testimony earlier or the manifestation earlier of that witness when in fact your employee already admitted to it. So I'm sorry, you're trying to mislead us into believing.
No, what I'm trying
or
to say
something
is
else.
I did not give that instruction. And neither do I know that warehouse employee because I only went
This
into the
does not
warehouse
matter,
for.
Mr.
Senator
Attorney,
Pangilinan.
does not matter.
I think we can go to other points because you have already proven
Yes,
that
sorry, Mr.
you
Chairman.
have,
Thank
you
you
have a
very much.
material witness, as you say, carries a lot of weight. She has less in life than Mr. Dargani, and she's an employee and she followed orders, and that is what she has referred to Mr. Dargani. Mr. Dargani thinks that because of his immense influence and wealth, she can overcome this. It's up to him. Why should we keep asking him if he wants to lie? Let him lie. He will have to pay for it later. All right? Now, going back again, I would like to go back to Crisel because gusto ko make a clean breast of it because I'm about to ask you a question. It's a very, very important question at this point. If I ask you a question, will you tell me the truth, Crisel?
Yes po, Mr. Chairman.
You promise?
Yes po, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I will ask you a simple question. Are you familiar with business beyond limits? I did not want to ask you this question, but I will now have to ask you this question. Business beyond limits.
I am familiar, Mr. Chairman.
Why are you familiar with this corporation?
As a matter of fact, Mr. Chairman, I am the one of the nominees of the company.
And that nominee was used as a joint venture with Farmali, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
And they made you, this company, bid again, right?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
And you want to bid in the amount of 37,870,000. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Now that shows to me that you're part and parcel of this gang of thieves, which has been bilking the country. Ito yung sinasabi ni President Duterte, and I quote him, sinisip-sip nyo yung dugo ng tao. Yung pinaghirapan ng tao, sinisip-sip nila. Quote unquote, Attorney Duterte. So you're part and parcel of it, right? Now, I will ask you again. You know all these things, and it's very hard for you now to go out because you are part and parcel of this whole network, this den of thieves. I advise you now, please cooperate with me, and I give you my word, we will protect you. All the word of the Senate President. Para matapos na ito, at sinasabi, matagal rin kami mag-imbestiga, pero hindi ako titigil, hindi kami titigil. Titigil ka ba, Senator Pangilinan? Senator Lacson ba? Titigil tayo, Senator Lacson? Hindi kami titigil. Naglalabasan na lahat eh. Crisel, please, you told me, you promised me, and I believe you. And you just answered the truth. Kasama ka sa isang korporasyon, nabighani ka ngayon. Member ka ng isang korporasyon, nakakuha kayo ng 37 million, hindi pa kita tinatanong doon sa presyo ng binili nyo. At ito, kailan nangyari ito? Di ba, May 27, 2021?
May I check the records briefly, Mr. Chairman?
Ito, may papel ako. Ayan.
But I believe it is this year, Mr. Chairman, and around that time.
2021 nga.
Yes po.
So, ayoko sabihin, nakisaw-saw ka na rin. O kaya nabighani ka para hindi ka nila, para sigurado kang hindi ka tatalon sa kanila, sinama ka nila sa negosyo. In other words, they try to make your hands dirty. Ayan, no? Panay Fort Bonifacio, Victoria Tower. Hindi ba yung Victoria Tower? Yan nakatira, yan yung opisina nila nila Dargani, ng itong korporasyon ninyo?
Mr. Chairman, the address of Farmally is at Tower B, Fort Victoria.
Tabi-tabi lang kayo, tatawid lang kayo.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a statement regarding my involvement with Business Beyond Limits? So, the truth is, I was appointed, how do I say this? Nilagay ako dyan for convenience, Mr. Chairman.
So, ginagamit ka nila?
And if you...
Yes or no? Sa tingin mo, ginagamit ka lang nila yung pangalan mo?
For convenience, Mr. Chairman, I believe so.
For convenience. Para magamit siya pangalan mo, para makasawsaw pa sila sa marami pang nanakawin. Tama?
I cannot answer regarding the nanakawin na word, Mr. Chairman.
Well, para makahut-hut pa sila. I am going to be tired of this and I will get back to you in spades. Because nakikita ko na talagang marami ka pang nalalaman. Kung ayaw mo mag-cooperate, then you will be part and parcel of this conspiracy to defraud the government. The government was already swindled.
I am willing to cooperate, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, yeah.
As mentioned earlier, Mr. Chairman, I was placed as a nominee of the corporation, one-person corporation for convenience, since they also needed my advice and expertise when it comes to different services.
You know, I'd like to help you, really. In my heart of hearts, I'd like to help you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, yes, sir.
may I know from Ms. Margo what she means by for convenience? Ano po ibig nyo sabihin ng for convenience? So, Tagalogin nyo nga yung intindi ko dyan sa bakit kayo nilagay doon.
Apo. Yeah, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, as earlier mentioned, it was for technical expertise for the services po. Like, for example, for the bidding, government bidding po.
May technical expertise ka.
And
So,
experience po with government bidding.
Bakit? Saan ka galing dati?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, it was only based on the projects that we got from 2020 as well as additional learnings from different resources po.
So, ikaw yung ginagamit nila doon sa mga pag-ugnayan sa mga bidding, pang gano'n.
Preparation of the bidding documents po in particular, Mr. Chairman.
Preparations of the bidding. So, alam mo, so sumusunod ka sa mga inuutos sa'yo.
That is correct po, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so, maliwanag yun. Ang tinatanong kasi nila Senator Gordon, at saka ni Senator Pangilinan is yung mga, ang importante lang kasi naman yung mga nag-uutos sa'yo at ano inuutos. So, yun lang ang linawin mo sa kanila at siguradong magkakaayos na tayo ng impormasyon. Okay,
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry. Grace, who placed you there as nominee?
Actually, I was, well, let me be honest, Mr. Chairman. I was placed as a nominee by the incorporator, the incorporator of that company, Mr. Chairman.
Who is? Why do you hesitate to mention the name
yes,
right
po.
away?
The name of the incorporator is Miss Sofia Mercedes Custodio. It is a one-person corporation, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, what was she? She
It
is the
is a
president
one.
and corporate treasurer, isn't she?
Yes, po, Mr. Chairman, but it is a one-person corporation, and as nominee, I actually don't have any functions for the company. But then when we submitted I believe it was an alternative document to the GIS, I was nominated as the corporate secretary. For convenience again, Mr. Chairman.
And kilala mo si Gerald Cruz?
Yes po, Mr. Chairman. I believe I saw him a few times po.
Gerald Cruz is part of the cabal. Di sa mga corporation na papakita ko sa inyo sa Parmali Group. Marami sila. Di ba?
Mr. Chairman, with regards to the transactions of Business Beyond Limits, I have never transacted with Mr. Gerald Cruz. I only know of
He's
Mr.
part of the
Sofia.
board. In fact, he is the chief financial officer. And it says here, you are the corporate secretary, aren't you?
For Business Beyond Limits, yes po, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me?
Uh, I mean, I was elected as the corporate secretary for Business Beyond Limits OPC.
Yeah, you were elected. Pumayag ka. You didn't say no. And under the one-person corporation, lumalabas na kasama ka na bilang corporate secretary at si Gerald Cruz. Kung mapapakita lang natin yung pangalan ng mga kung saan nakalagay si Gerald Cruz, ay kasama siya sa iba't ibang mga korporasyon ng Parmali. Di ba?
Yes, po, Mr. Chairman.
And he lives in 2260 Avocado Street. Are you aware of that? That's Marinas Village, Makati?
I've never been to that place, Mr.
If you're
Chairman.
aware, because hindi ka naman basta pipirma. Kung yan ay kasama doon sa tinatawag na grupo nila. Dahil tingnan mo yung kotse ni Rose Nono Lynn. Ang address na binigay rin ay Avocado Street sa Dasmariñas Village. Diba?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, but at the time of signing, I was not aware of this information po.
Well, now you know. Even if you didn't know at that time, now you know.
Yes po.
In fact, ayan nakalagay sa kotse ni Rose Nonolin na 8.9 million na Cadillac Escalade 2260 Avocado. Si Gerald Cruz ay kasama dito sa mga korporasyon at makikita natin ang pangalan niya lumalabas sa Parmali Biological, Corporate Secretary. Si Gerald Cruz ay Corporate Secretary sa Philippine Fullwin na pag-aari rin ni Mr. Jason Uson, Presidente, Rose Dono, Treasurer, Gerald Cruz, Corporate Secretary, at saka si Yang Hongjiang, Director na brother ni Michael Yang. Alright? Si Gerald Cruz rin ay kasama sa Philippine Estate Group kung saan siya ang ginamit na assistant para makatira si Michael Yang doon sa bahay sa Forest Park. So, alamin mo lang, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. You are in the company of a group that is operating in the government and that is viciously, malevolently, with deliberate intent, try to suck off the hard earnings of the Filipino people and at the same time, pahirapan ang mga tao. You're a Catholic girl, papayagan bang maghirap yung mga tao? You know, I work in Direct Cross, araw-araw nakikita ko yung humingi ng tulong. Makapasok sa ospital, humingi ng tulong, makahingi ng gamot. Hirap na hirap. So, nakikiusap sa iyo, tumulong ka na because if you don't, then you'll be part of this in our recommendation.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am very willing to cooperate po.
Do you want to talk with us in private?
If it is necessary, Mr. Chairman.
It is not only necessary, but it is possible. Would you like to consider that option now?
Please allow me to think about it, Mr. Chairman, as there are a few factors that I have to consider as I am an employee of Parmali po. So I have to consider both sides, Mr. Chairman. Hope you understand.
What?
But
Because
please do give me enough time to think about this, Mr. Chairman, and I'll reach out to you po.
Bigyan marami ng oras. We're not monsters here.
Just
Yes, Senator Pangilinan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I likewise commiserate with Ms. Mago because
Naipit lang siya.
when she decides, whatever she decides as an employee of Parmali, she may lose her job. And that's why it's a serious, there are serious repercussions. So we understand the fear and the concern and the uncertainty at this point. But we appeal to you, ma'am. The Senate we will request for Senate to provide you the necessary support, at least in terms of security. But in the end, you know, katotohanan kasi ang hinihingi natin dito at nangako ka. You have a whole future ahead of you. And therefore, we ask you to, isipin po ninyo yung mga isipin ninyo yung mga nagkasakit, na mga namatay, na mga frontliners dahil dito sa ganitong gawain. If you can, perhaps, for their sake, correct what you think should be corrected. Itama yung dapat ilagay sa tama dahil dun sa mga naging kakulangan o hindi tamang mga gawa.
Kaya Christian, nakita mo sympathetic ang Senado sa iyo. Ako sympathetic sa iyo. Hindi ako sinungaling sa iyo. I know you have humanitarian concerns. Are you the only breadwinner? Ikaw lang ba ang nagtatrabaho sa pamilya ninyo?
No po, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, ma'am?
Hindi naman po, Mr. Chairman. I'm not the breadwinner po.
Okay. And you are, wala kang asawa, di ba?
Wala po, Mr. Chairman.
So, ikaw lang ang maganda yung trabaho mo, maganda yung opisina. And I don't want to go after you. Really. I do not want to go after you. Gusto namin mag-cooperate ka para sa bayan. If that means anything to any of us in this country.
Yes po, Mr.
We're
Chairman.
willing to wait for you. Hintayin ka namin, pag-isipan mo, and then some future time, we'll ask you again. But ang dami kasing nakikita namin na nakakalungkot Talagang actually, ang tingin ko, pinagsamantalahan ka Ginamit yung pangalan mo Can we call Sofia, what's her name? Sofia Custodio? Yung presidente, Sofia Mercedes Custodio. And she lives also in Unit 12, 10th floor, Victoria Tower, C, 5th Avenue, Center, 23rd Street, Fort Bonifacio, Global City, Taguig City. The Director General is required to issue a subpoena, and also at the same time, itong si Gerald Cruz.
Yes, Your
Hindi pa
Honor.
natin nakikita yan. Inisyuan na natin na subpoena, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Gerald Cruz has been, a previous subpoena has been issued against him.
Mr. President, addressing the Senate President, as we talked about it, we like this lady. She's well-bred. Nag-aaral siya sa St. Paul's. Among magsalita. Mukhang napag-samantalaan and maybe nakakasyak na naman. Pero mga kasama mo, mga mayayaman, mga magagandang kotse, nakatira sa mga exclusive villages. Yun lang inaalala ko sa kanya. Dahil, siyempre, pag natapos ang gamit sa iyo and you're no longer useful to you, you're no longer useful to them, iiwanan ka nila. That's why I'm trying so hard to get you to go on the side na siya ay kayo makatulong sa gobyerno. One last question, Crisel. Are you a pharmacist?
Yes po, Mr. Chairman.
Graduate ka sa St. Paul's Pharmacist?
Yes po. Yes po, Mr. Chairman.
Wow, that's certainly mahirap yung course na yan. Maraming technical terms. Therefore, you are also a healthcare worker, correct?
Yes po, Mr. Chairman.
And there are many healthcare workers na nahihirapan ngayon. Kami meeting lang namin dahil nagsusug ako ng bill, kasama ko ilang mga senador na mabigyan ng pera yung mga healthcare workers sapagkat kapag iwanan sila, yung Bayanihan 1 and 2, hindi sila nakakuha at naka-expose sila sa risk sa mga ospital, yung mga humaharap sa mga taong may sakit, katulad ng mga barangay health workers. Naghahanap kami ngayon ng pera para mabigyan sila ng pera. I'm sure you can identify with them. I'm sure kaya mong sabihin kasama niyo ako. Di ba?
Yes po, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that's all I wanted to tell you. Dapat yun ang nasa isip mo. Huwag mong isipin itong empleyado ka. With your poise, with your manner, with your gentleness, you can always find a job, especially if you're helpful to this government or the people are really shocked at the enormousness, itong laki nitong kinuhang pera sa ating bayan. Tandaan mo, you are a healthcare worker from St. Paul's College of Manila. No, I'm sorry, of Cagayan. Cagayan. Thank you, Ms. Crisel. May I now call, actually, ang susunod dito ay si si President Soto, sana po, Senate President Soto, kayo na mag-umpisa dito kay Lincoln Ong para matanong natin kung saan nila pinagkukuha yung pera na pinaggagamit nila para mag-import. Dahil talagang mahirap ipaliwanag yung bilyon-bilyon na nabibili nila na walang kapital. At I will leave it up to you, sir. I'll give you the first crack. Sir, you are the one.
I think it was also Senator Lacson who had questions on Lincoln Ong. Let me check on my records, but I yield the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Senator Lacson, would you like to take a crack at it? Because I'm ready to take a crack at him, and
Yes, I yield to you, Mr. Chairman. I prefer to give
maybe Senator Dillon
a chance to ask questions in the meantime.
Okay. Okay, Senator Pangilinan? You're on mute, sir.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I have some questions, but to another resource person. So I will just wait my time for as you go through Mr. Lincoln Ong's testimony.
Madami kasi nagtatanong kay Lincoln Ong tsaka dito sa Farmally. Kung nakakabili kayo ng mga produktong malalaki na milyon-milyon at bilyon-bilyon, saan nyo kinukuha yung pera kung ang pera nyo lamang ay 625,000 pesos? Mr. Ong?
Mr. Chairman, nabanggit ko na po yun dati sa mga malalaking project po, humingi po ako ng tulong kay Mr. Yang.
So, kaya ka humingi ng tulong kay Mr. Yang na dinideny niya na yung mga kaibigan niya raw ang tumulong sa kanya, na dinideny niya na hindi kayo tumutulong sa kanya dati, hindi siya tumutulong sa inyo dati. Halimbawa, bigyan mo lang ako ng example. Dito sa, nakita na natin, tumakbo ka doon kay Tiger Phil. Tapos, nag-order kayo ng 54 million. Saan nyo kinuha yung 54 million?
Yung 54 million po na project is hindi po kasama dyan si Michael Yang. Ang nagbigay sa akin, nag-loan on goods sa akin is si Wang Jie. Yun po yun.
Si Wang Jie.
Opo.
Director General, have we gotten anything on Wang Jie yet? Wang Jie? Kilala ko si Wang Yu, hindi ko kilala si Wang Jie.
We're checking, Mr. Chair. We will report back to you immediately.
Thank you. All right. Alampasan ko yan. Ang sumunod, ito, memory serves correct. Ang sumunod, yung 220 million. Correct?
Yes po, si Wang Jie po rin yun. Doon sa 10 million na mas, siya po yun.
Mga mas yan. Wang Jie.
Opo.
Nandito ba si Wang Jie sa Pilipinas?
Simula nung binanggit ko siya sa publiko, tinatawagan ko siya, hindi na siya sumasagot sa akin. So, hindi ko po masabi yung whereabouts niya, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, may I ask that the Immigration Office be furnish us copies of the whereabouts of Wang Jie if she has left the country?
Yes, I'm giving instructions now to do that.
Thank you, sir. Now, after the 220 million, ito na malaki. Ang sabi mo dati, si Michael Yang, 600 million.
Yung which project po? Yung DGI po?
Yes, kabisado mo naman.
Yes po. Tumulong din po dyan si Mr. Yang. Yes po.
Anong tinulong ni Michael Yang specifically?
Siya po naghanap ng supplier po. Siya talaga yung naghanap ng
Sabihin ko
supplier.
lang, para baka mamaya bawiin mo. Si Michael Yang, ikaw ang translator niya. Right?
Yes po. Yes po.
Ang tagal ka naman kayo kilala. May litratong kumakalat sa internet na magkasama kayo ni Michael Yang at kausap niyo si Presidente. Tatlo lang kayo.
Nakikita ko po yung litrato niyan. Yes po, Mr. Chairman.
Totoo ba yun?
Yes
Yan?
po, totoo po yan. Totoo po.
Ano yan? The good, the bad, and the ugly? Biro lang ha. Sorry. Tatlo kayo eh. Hindi ko lang matiis eh. Hindi ko lang alam kung sinong good, sinong bad, sinong ugly. Now, tanongin ko kita ngayon. 600 million ang hiningi. Siga naman talaga yung katabi mo. Nakaka-produce ng 600 million? Ano yung cash?
Hindi naman po,
Simple lang yung tanong ko. Cash ba yan? Cheque? Cash?
ano po siya, bank transfer po siya.
Bank transfer. Anong bangko?
Bangko po?
Hindi, lamesa.
Sorry po,
Ikaw ang nagsabi ng bangko eh.
as far as I know, I think ano, yung Union Bank po. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali po.
Union Bank. Do we have a representative from Union Bank here, Director General Kimbo? It would be a simple matter to call Union Bank. Anong branch yan?
West McKinley po.
Port McKinley. Sa Bonifacio.
West McKinley.
West McKinley. Director General Kimbo, maybe you might ask them gently if they would have records of their documents. Otherwise, we'll have to ask them to provide us with documents of the transactions. This is a legitimate investigation of the Philippine government, of the Senate of the Republic of the Philippines, para makuha natin kung totoo yung sinasabi ni Lincoln. Saan galing yung cheque na ginamit niya bank transfer? Galing sa China?
Mr. Chairman, I have to check the records po. Hindi ko rin, last year na po yun eh, hindi ko maalala.
Linggo-linggo na tayo naandito eh. At check mo pa records. I'm sure naghanap ka na, naghalungkat ka na eh. Please, huwag niya na kami pahirapan. Sino may perang ganyan kalaki na 600 million, makakapagdala ka agad ng pera sa iyo? Let the record state na he will check the records. Mr. Yang, with your permission, sir. Shen-sang. Michael Yang. Hello, how are you, sir?
你怎么样？最近怎么样？
还好。
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
And how? Very well, right? And how? All right. Mr. Yang, there is a witness here, si Mr. Lincoln Ong, who used to be your translator. Translator mo siya, tigapagsalita mo, tiga-translate sa'yo. Sabi niya,
他说这个李丽嘛是你之前的翻译人员，
ikaw ang nag-supply ng 600 million.
是你给他600桶。
你告诉我当时我有帮他介绍朋友，给他借帮朋友。
当时介绍朋友和帮他借。
朋友借给他。
朋友借给他。Mr. Chair, ang pinapasabi po ni Mr. Yang is that at that time nagpakilala siya ng mga friends for the supplier and then sila rin yung mga yung friends rin niya po yung nagpautang.
Wow, you must have very rich friends, Mr. Yang. Are they from China or are they from the Philippines?
I'm sorry, come again, Mr. Chairman, hindi ko pa narinig.
Mga hopang yu. Tama ba yun sa Chinese? Hopang yao.
So who are the friends? 是谁？那些朋友？
你告诉我跟朋友这个保密协议我不能透露，目前不方便嘛。
And request translator of the Blue Ribbon Committee to religiously tell me if they're giving the right translation, please.
不方便透露。
Director General.
Yes, Your Honor, she's present, Your Honor. It's
Okay.
Ling
Is it
Fong.
translation?
Mr. Chairman, ang pinapasabi po ni Mr. Yang is that he's not because he has an NDA with these friends, so he cannot disclose the names of these friends.
He has an
NDA.
NDA. Kala ko Masters in Business Administration. NDA, Non-Disclosure Agreement.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Why would there be a non-disclosure agreement on a legitimate transaction?
他在问你们为什么会有一个保密协议？如果是一个正常的，
我答应朋友，朋友叫我当时借钱去答应他的，这个是我答应人家的。
I mean, it was a commitment that he gave to his friends po at that time.
Mr. Yang, you're aware that itong perang ito ay galing sa pera ng bayan ng Pilipinas. And therefore, ang Senado ay may karapatan ungkatin yan. Hindi kami naniniwala sa non-disclosure agreement. Sa Tagalog, Hindi namin sasabihin kung saan galing yung pera.
他说呢，你知道这些都是政府的钱嘛？那但是然后呢，这个听证会呢，这些参议员呢是有权利来调查。
这个给他说，这个是我的私事，这个是我帮他借钱，他要做政府的钱，因为我没有参与，我是借他帮他介绍钱，借他。
Mr. Chairman, ang pinapasabi po ni Mr. Yang is that he assisted in helping Lincoln find friends who could lend him money, and he has 是你没有跟参与政府的，对吧？
就是说我是帮他这个政府的钱，我是介绍朋友借钱。
He only helped introduce Lincoln to his friends who could help him with his financial needs po.
His financial needs are formally.
是帮林立的财务的资金的需求吗？或者是帮忙这个 Family 制药公司呢？
不要说他的意思我听不懂，我当时是林立有这个需求，我来找我帮朋友有钱借他这个我去帮他们信用介绍嘛，信用档。
At that time po, lumapit po si Lincoln and then he helped referred po yung mga pangangailangan ni Lincoln for suppliers and for financial assistance din po.
Okay, I will go to that later.
Mr. Chairman, with the
Mr.
indulgence
Yang,
of the Senate
Mr. Yang,
President.
sandali lang, Risa, Senator
Yes,
Risa.
Mr. Chairman.
I just have to follow the trend of questioning right now. I hope you don't mind.
Of course, Mr. Chairman.
Naging mabuti ba ang mga Pilipino sa iyo after all 19 years ka na rito, 22 years? Mabuti ba ang naging trato ng mga Pilipino sa iyo?
他说你自从99年嘛，你在这边有19年嘛，菲律宾人是不是对待你有好不好呢？
不要说我来菲律宾，我跟菲律宾相处的很好，我都也在想，在对菲律宾感觉很好，很想留在菲律宾，成为一个永久的在这边做事情的，也在这边发展。
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Yang said that.
Ling, translator from Blue Ribbon, did you hear what he said?
Just right now, sorry, sir, I got disconnected earlier.
Ay nako, Ling, just say so. Signal, please.
Right now, it's
So,
okay.
anong sagot doon sa naging mabuti ba ang Pilipino sa iyo?
Do we want to ask Mr. Yang to repeat the answer, Mr. Chairman? So
You
the
know the
interpreter
answer.
can
You
validate.
translated it already.
Okay. The answer of Mr. Yang, Mr. Chairman, is that he has naging mabuti at good experience naman dito sa Philippines and he wanted to do long-term business dito.
At naging kaibigan mo ang presidente ng Pilipinas, napakaswerte mo. Ilang tao makaklaim na naging presidente?
他说你跟总统是个
presidente.
好朋友，你很幸运。
要说这个我也很幸运啊，能在大陆工作认识也是很幸运。
Yeah, he said it's really fortunate and a privilege na naging friend siya with President po.
Okay, nagkaroon ka ng malaking negosyo sa Davao City. Tama?
他说你在davao有很大的生意吗？
他说还好吧，
Okay naman po, Mr. Chairman.
他说还好吧。
Tinatanong ko, okay, nagkaroon ka ng malaking negosyo sa Davao City, tama?
他说你在davao有
还好
很大的，
他说tama
tama lang naman daw po.
Eh,
Hindi
sagot
naman
mo,
daw
tama.
masyado malaki. Tama lang.
Ang DCLA, correct? Ang pangalan ng negosyo mo?
你的公司名字叫做 DCLA 吗？
是啊，以前有啊。
Yes po.
Sa iyo yun? O corporation?
DCLA 是你的吗？
公司的吗？
公司sa company po.
Sino ang mga member ng company? Ikaw ang major stockholder.
那这个公司的那些股东人是谁？
他说上面都有吧。他说
啊，
他说这个有我老婆啊，有一些合作的嘛。
Yung wife po niya and some other business partners po.
Ikaw, wala ka doon?
你在公司这个 DCLA 的股权里吗？
这个要说我要看一下嘛，因为我老婆在会议负责。
He would have to check the records kasi yung records nasa wife daw niya.
Mahirap naman yung sagot mo. Pangyaw, mahirap sagot mo. Bakit hindi mo alam kung wala kang saksak na pera dyan?
知道你是不是在公司里头的。
跟他说这边的一些是我老婆负责，我看一下吧。
Mr. Chairman, I just like to clarify when you said na ang sinasagot namin question is about in terms of him being a shareholder of DCLA, tama po ba?
Eh, ano pa ba ang tinatanong ko? Hindi yun, di ba? Sa
Yes,
asawa
yes.
mo.
So at least we're
Magkano-
answering the right track. Sorry po. And then he answered kasi yung DCLA po is being managed by his wife po. Kaya yung mga records nandoon po sa asawa niya.
是我的事情，我不能。
Okay. Mr. Chairman, these are his private po, mga private secrets po. He's not comfortable disclosing them.
Ang laki ng negosyo mo. Papakita ko sa ito. Sige, pakita mo yung mga building niya.
Hello. Ito isa sinsima.
Bago kita tanongin yan,
Tatalo.
may mga litrato kami. Ilan ba ang building mo na ganyan kalalaki sa Davao?
你有几个广场呢？在大包大楼广场。
啊，
达包你有几个大楼和或者广场？
跟他说都是公司嘛，这个我跟他说这个是我要公司看，我现在记不起来。
Hindi niya ma-recall yung exact
我要查一下。
count po. He has to check po, Mr. Chairman.
Ano hindi niya ma-recall? Hindi niya alam kung ilan ang building niya?
你记不到你的那个几个大楼吗？或者
我要看，跟他说我答案我好像没有什么大楼啊。
广场 building 广场商场。
商场是租地来做的，跟他说是租的来建的嘛。
Mr. Chairman, yung mga
是
malls naman daw, those are rented daw eh.
Ha?
Rented.
Ano?
Parang rented and built.
Tinatanong ko rented. Eh, nagpatayo ka ng building.
Sorry.
Actually,
He says
Anong sagot, Lingling? Anong sagot?
he says the lots are rented and then they have it operated. So what I understand is the lots are rented. May I confirm it to you? 杨先生，你说的那个
The
商
lot
场
is
是
rented.
住
Ang lote rented, ang building sa kanya. Tama ba yun, Lingling?
I will double check with Mr. Yang.
他要问你那个翻译。
你
你能讲大声一点吗？
杨先生，你说你的那些商场的土地是租来的，
对，
然后商场是你们建的，
租建的来转租。
他的 answer 是，
所以你们是自己建，然后来转租。
有的是转租来再弄的，有的是自己建的，再自己租出去，都有。
谢谢。He said, Mr. Yang said the lot is being rented, and then some of them they construct the building, others they rented it and then sublease it.
你给他说这个本来是我公司的秘密，现在都本来是不想说的，因为我们生意是有秘密的。这个租来大家以后我的客户就跑光了。
Mr. Yang is expressing that this is supposedly a business secret, or should he said that a personal endeavor of his, and he should not disclose it here. He's afraid that his customer may run away.
Oo. Galing mo naman magnegosyo. Tinatago mo sa tao yung mga negosyo mo. Totoo, yan ang 168 ng Davao, di ba? Yan ang 168 ng Davao.
把生意都隐藏在给人家。你的生意就是相当于那个马尼拉的幺六八商场。
跟他说做点租金弄市场，对达澳系对一个市场也是好处嘛，给人家就业嘛，造成一个市场对菲律宾、对达澳、对这些也是好。
Yes, Senator. After the translation, yes. What is the translation, Lingling?
According to Mr. Yang, his investment in Davao with the building of these malls and structures, it also helps in the economics or economy of Davao, and also to the people of Davao to create more jobs.
I do not doubt that. Tama ka, Mr. Yang. Tama ka. Nakakatulong.
他就说这个是对的。
Tinatanong ko lang, kung magkano ang naipasok mong kapital?
他的问题呢，你到底哪来了多少个资金进来投入？
跟他说这个是我的，这个我不能告诉，这是我的一个私人的问题，我不能告诉他们。 这个是我私人的事情，我不能告诉，因为我们做生意是有秘密，是不是？这个是商业机密，我不能在这边说。
Mr. Yang is saying that this is his secret, I mean business secret, because he cannot disclose here publicly on how much investment or money he brought into the Philippines.
And would you like the BIR to check you? Of course, you're very well connected. Baka mahirapan yung BIR magtingin sa inyo.
要不要税务局查你？因为你跟
这
上面关
个和
系非常。
我们做生意跟正常的都是公司运营，都是我正常做生意也是运营的啊。他要来查，我们也是要给他查的，我们也有报税的。
Mr. Yang is saying, I'm doing business here legally, so if BIR will come to inspect our books, we are open for it.
If the BIR can open the books in this investigation, dapat open ka rin sa amin na sumagot ka dahil malay ko kung saan mo galing yung pera mo, paano ka nakapagpasok ng perang ganyang kalaki? Dumaan ba yan sa meron ka bang papers kung paano pinasok yung perang yan dito sa Pilipinas?
因为他说呢，税务局如果要查，他也不是能查嘛。然后第二个，他是想知道你的资金来源嘛。第三呢，你这些是否有一些水流或者一些文件证据嘛？
你跟他说这个是我的私事，这个是我做生意的。这个我的些生意嘛，不能说，不方便透露。这个是我的做生意的一些私事，我不能透露。
Mr. Yang is saying that it's not convenient for him to disclose his personal endeavor.
If you don't want to answer, that means that you're evading. Just like the president is evading and trying to stop this investigation.
他说，如果你不回答呢，就代表说你就是你就是在就是不回答，不说事实出来嘛。
你跟他说我这个不能披露，就是我没有什么不能回答，我这个不能我的私事，我不能在这边批，是不是？
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Yang is saying he cannot disclose his private and personal information here in the public hearing.
This is a public hearing to find out the truth. If you have nothing to hide, then you should disclose it because alam naman ng tao mayaman ka eh. Ang tinatanong namin, saan galing yung pera mo? Dahil para maglabas ka ng pera, kailangan may katibayan ka na nagpasok ka ng pera para mailabas mo yung perang kinita mo. That's fair. Even in China, ginagawa yan.
他说这个听证会呢，就是为了要调查你自己的来源嘛，你必须看到你有进的钱，才看到你有出的钱嘛。
你跟他说这个是我的私，这个我不能评论，这个是我的私。
Mr. Chairman, these are his private information. He's not comfortable disclosing to the public.
Well, I don't care about your comfort. I care about the comfort and safety of the Filipino people. Translate, please.
杨先生，我们的那个参议员说他比较在意就是大众的那个利益，舒服，而不是在于你个人感觉到底舒不舒服，或者是方不方便。
你给他说，他要尊重我们个人的一些私事，这个对我们有影响，我们不能披露。假如说他也有自己的私事，也有个人都有的，有个人每一个都有个人的私事是不能有的，不能披露的。谢谢。
Mr. Yang is saying that please respect also my right to preserve or to uphold the confidential matters or confidential personal matters. That's why I cannot disclose.
You have a lawyer here.
At this hearing.
You have a lawyer, Attorney Fortune.
他说你有个律师吗？就是这个。
他说有啊，我有请个律师啊，因为我们对这个法律有时候也是要咨询一下嘛。 我有请过律师，对，可是有时候有法律，我们稍微咨询一下呀。这个是
Yes, I have hired our lawyer because I also need to consult some legal matters because I don't understand quite well.
What is your visa?
你的签证是什么
我是菲律宾那个永久签证。
？Permanent residence visa, Mr. Chairman.
Permanent resident visa. And did you have to put in money for that permanent resident visa? Because if you invest a certain amount of money, you can get a permanent resident visa in this country.
你
That's
说
a
你
very
做
kind,
那
an enlightened way of getting a permanent resident visa. So you should reciprocate by telling us where the money came from.
玲玲，你可以翻译一下吗？因为我对签证不熟。
OK，杨先生，请问一下，你的那个签证是投资签证呢，还是退休签证？
我这个是特色，移民年有
特色
50名，国家有50名那个给中国的那个quota。
Oh, okay. According to Mr. Yang, because I clarified with him whether
I'm sorry, I'm losing you. I'm losing you, Ding Ding. Hindi kita marinig. Hindi ka na namin marinig, Ling Ling.
holding a
Hello, Ling Ling. For some reason, there is a malfunction of the technical staff or the communications. Sige, pending that, pending the answer, Ling Ling, when you have it, yes, Senator Antiveros.
or
Salamat, Mr. Chairman.
retirement visa.
When
and
my
you
turn
told
comes, magtatanong din ako kay Mr. Yang tungkol sa Full Win Group. Pero when I had to step out briefly earlier, Mr. Chairman, my staff were still listening and updated me that Ms. Mago, Crizel Grace Mago, admitted tampering with the certificates. In effect, Mr. Chairman admitted swindling the government upon instructions of Mohit Dargani.
That's already been proven, Senator. That's
Yes,
already
Mr.
been proven. And
Yes,
I
Mr.
would like,
Chairman.
if you're going to continue, I'll give way provided you continue the cross-examination that we're having with Mr. Yang because mawawala tayo sa punto eh.
Yes, Mr. Chair. No, I just need to make one urgent motion requesting the good chair to place Ms. Mago under the protective custody of the Senate. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Well, are you seconding it, Senator Pangilinan?
Yes, second the motion.
There is no objection. She will have to agree. I don't know if she is going to agree. Have you spoken with her?
Not yet, Mr. Chairman. I will do so on the chairman's instruction. And
I
thank
think
you,
should
Mr.
talk with her
Chairman.
first.
Yes,
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Chairman.
just a manifestation. She did say she was willing to cooperate, so we could take it.
I mean, that she's willing to be under the protective custody.
And
Different things.
yes, if that is necessary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think so.
Will do, Mr. Chairman. Salamat po.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Yang, to have to put you to this. Paisi. Sabi nga, pakitranslate lang. Hindi ko pa nakuha yung translation ng isa kanina. In the meantime, Senator Drilon, would you like to ask that question while we're waiting for the translation? Senator Drilon is recognized.
Yes, I'd like just pursuing this line of questions on Mr. Yang. Can I have Mr. Lincoln Ong? Mr. Lincoln Ong, nandyan ho kayo?
Yes po, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lincoln. Okay. Mr. Lincoln, ang sinabi mo kanina, humingi po kami ng tulong kay Mr. Yang relative to funding the first supplies of the face mask and face shields to PSDBM. Tama po ba yun? That sinabi nyo, humingi kami ng tulong kay Mr. Yang. Yung tulong po para po punduhan ang inyong unang transaksyon sa PSDBM.
Hindi po kami humingi ng tulong kay Mr. Michael Yang sa mga face mask na project.
Saan kayo humingi ng tulong?
Yung pong tanong ni Mr. Chairman dun sa test kits po.
Sa test kit, all right.
Yes po, Mr. Chair. Mr.
Test
Chairman.
kits. At magkano hiniram niyo sa kanya?
Mr. Chairman, meron po kaming na pirmang NDA. Hindi ko po ma-disclose. Meron po kami na pirmang NDA po tungkol dyan.
Kanina sinabi mo 600 million, hindi ba? At sa,
600, Mr. Chairman, 600 million po yung project cost.
how much?
Ay,
600
600
million.
million po ang project price.
600 million ang project cost. Ganun po ba?
600 million po ang project as in winning bid po. Yan po.
Bidding bid, all right. 600 million. You know, stop invoking the non-disclosure agreement because we are here talking about corruption on public funds. And therefore, there is no basis to assert the non-disclosure agreement because this involves bidding of public projects. Now, I ask you again, so you're saying 600 million was funded by Mr. Yang for the test kit project. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, yung project winning contract price is 600 million, but it doesn't mean na 600 million was funded by him.
Okay, so sa 600 million na contract, yun ang value ng test kits na in-award sa inyo for you to supply PSDBM. Tama po ba yun?
Tama po.
Ngayon, doon sa 600 billion, magkano ang pinance ni Mr. Yang?
Mr. Chairman, as again, ano po siya, it's a private transaction. I cannot myself to disclose it.
Mr. Ong, how did you comply with the supply agreement that you mentioned for the test kits?
Humingi po ako ng tulong kay Mr. Yang. Yes po.
Yan, inuulit mo humingi ka ng tulong kay Mr. Yang. Anong klaseng tulong ang hiningi mo kay Mr. Yang?
Mr. Chairman, nagpakilala po siya ng supplier and then financially, tinulungan din po na kami.
Financially, tinulungan din yan kayo. Can you be more specific? Magkano ang financial na tulong sa inyo ni Mr. Yang?
Mr. Chairman, ano po it's between me and Michael Yang and then I cannot, ako lang po dito.
You will never be able to leave the custody of the Senate with your very evasive answers, notwithstanding the fact, you know, when I ask you a question, you answer one part, and then the second part, ayaw mo nang sagutin. Ulitin ko lang po. You said that Mr. Yang helped you financially. How much did he help you with? How much did you borrow from him?
Hindi ko rin po kasing on my side, di rin pwede ako yung mag-disclose noon.
Bakit hindi ka pwede? Alam nyo, habang baka po hindi ka talaga makalabas dito kasi yung mga sagot mo yan, it's obviously you're keeping and you're refusing to answer the question. And refusing to answer the question of the Blue Ribbon has been sustained by the Supreme Court as a ground for detention until you answer correctly. You can ask your lawyer who apparently has advised you on this. So, ulitin ko lang. Financially, Mr. Yang helped you. How much this is in a form of a loan or a donation?
Hindi po in donation.
Hindi donation. Loan talaga.
Dito po sa side namin, I will acknowledge we have obligation to Mr. Yang. Dito po sa side namin, I will have to acknowledge meron po kaming obligation kay Mr. Yang.
Right.
As to how he wants to, portray it.
May obligation kayo kay Mr. Yang. Bakit nagkaroon kayo ng obligation kay Mr. Yang?
Kasi po tinanong na kami sa pag-access ng funding.
Tinulungan niya kayo sa funding. Magkano ang tinulong sa inyo na funding?
Mr. Chairman, baka pwede po, siya na lang tanungin niyo kasi ako
Hindi, ikaw ang tinatanong ko Mr. Chairman. Ah, ikaw naman, Lincoln. Magkano ang tinulong sa inyo? Sabi mo kayo na 600 million ang project. Magkano ang tinulong sa inyo?
Mr. Chairman, and then actually another fact is hindi ko rin po maalala. I have to check the record. But again, even I have the records po, Mr. Chairman. I mean, sorry po talaga.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps we should have him transferred to the New Bilibid prison.
Yes.
Perhaps there he will have the chance to reflect more on his answer. Kasi paiba-iba Kanina hindi niya pwedeng sabihin. Ngayon hindi niya maalala. He has to check his records. Mr. Lincoln Ong, I'm sorry, but clearly you're being evasive.
Yes. I joined the motion of Senator Pangilinan. I second the motion to move Mr. Ong to the New Bilibid Penitentiary in view of his refusal to answer bordering on perjury on a legitimate question or the valid question that we raise.
Seconded.
Okay, there's been a motion to move Mr. Ong to the New Bilibid prison for refusal and to cooperate and answer the questions, the legitimate questions of this chamber. Are there any objections? There being none, I will ask Lincoln Ong for the last time. Are you going to cooperate or not? I
Mr.
suggest you
Chairman.
cooperate. Lincoln, I don't want to send you to Bilibid. In fact, ako,
Mr.
mas
Chairman.
ako sa Quezon City Jail ka
Mr. Chairman, thank you po. Pero nagko-cooperate naman po ako Mr. Chairman.
Ano raw?
Nagko-cooperate raw siya.
Nagko-cooperate naman po ako. But bakit po ako yung...
Do you want an executive committee session so that you can fully cooperate and tell us the truth?
I have to consult my counsel muna. I don't understand the implication of the executive session. Allow me to consult my lawyer din po.
Executive session,
Mr. Chair.
walang public. Kami lang.
Mr. Chairman, give me some time to talk to my lawyer po.
Mr. Chairman, depending on what Mr. Lincoln Ong will tell this committee, I am willing to discuss with the chairman and the committee the possible enrollment and admission of Mr. Ang in the Legislative Witness Protection Program. But I must underscore the fact that we have to assess what he's going to tell us. If he tells us the truth and we are convinced that he's telling us the truth, we can have him, we can recommend him for admission onto the Witness Protection Program so that his testimony cannot be used against him. But at the rate he's going, he's giving us no choice but to put him somewhere else rather than the Senate premises.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lacson.
Yes, with the permission of Senator Dillon, since Mr. Ong and Mr. Yang keep on invoking the non-disclosure agreement, doon sa kanilang tinatawag na joint venture agreement. Maybe, I would like to rephrase the question. I'd like to ask Mr. Ong or Mr. Yang, since these are shipments coming from abroad, from China, so I'd like to find out from either one of them or both of them, were your payments abroad done in compliance with the requirements of remittance of funds abroad, like if they were supported by the BSP required forms and accompanied by documents that include the specific amounts, names of recipients, address or addresses, invoice, shipping clearance? Meron po ba tayo niyan, Mr. Ong, Lincoln? I'm sure you should have that in your files, di ba?
Mr. Chairman, I think meron po. I have to ask my teammate to check.
Yeah, you don't have to check because how can you bring in goods or medical supplies from China kung wala kanya mga documents, di ba? You should have those. GSP clearance. Kasi may mga requirements yan eh. Pag bumili ka ng foreign currency, kailangan mo ng clearance. Hindi ba? Magre-remit ka eh. So, do you have all those required forms, ano? Including yung names, invoices, etc., etc., as I mentioned earlier. Can you submit it to the, or those documents to the committee just to show proof of payment?
Mr. Chairman, i-discuss ko po yan sa lawyer namin and also with the team members as soon as
So, walang
possible.
non-disclosure dito, Lincoln Ong. These are transactions.
Opo.
Ano yung diniscuss po sa lawyer mo? You just submit those documents. Just to complete the picture, you know, out of 44 other suppliers, ano, document ito nanggaling sa DBM. Okay? 45 lahat ang nag-supply. Yung formally talaga comes, you know, kayo number one eh. And you bag 26.39% of the 42 billion pesos that was transferred by DOH to the PSDBM. With a 625,000 peso initial capitalization. Now, we'd like also to find out from PSDBM, ito ba yung kultura dyan sa PSDBM na yung bulk 26%, more than 26% of the contracts napunta doon sa Parmali? Or this is unusual? Or this is very special? Ano talagang connection nyo sa PSDBM to be able to bag the bulk of the 42 billion transferred funds to the PSDBM from DOH? Tell us the truth, Mr. Ong.
Mr. Chairman,
Baka you
ang
may yet
significant.
redeem yourself para hindi matuloy yung pag-transfer mo sa National Bilibid Prisons. Because it
Thank
was
you, Mr.
already
Chairman.
seconded and approved by the committee. Now, if you have a change of heart and tell us the whole truth, probably we can still reconsider.
Thank
That's
you,
what
Mr. Chairman.
we're telling you.
Ayun nga
Just
po,
truth, nothing more, nothing less.
actually, Mr. Chairman, if ever you look at all our contracts na tuloy-tuloy, ang malaki lang po talaga is yung the PPE projects, which is I need help
I don't
talaga.
care
And
kung
then,
ano yung malaki. Ang kailangan namin yung mga dokumento at saka anong connection meron kayo sa PSDBM. This is unusual. With the 625,000 peso initial capitalization, registered with the SEC just 6 months before bagging all those contracts. That's unusual, don't you think so?
I think doon sa simula siguro nangapa kami, but nung sa pagka medyo may kabisado na namin, we just follow the process na lang po. And then tulad ng mga test kits, we just bid up on a price na we are comfortable. And then kung hindi naman marami po yung mga
Ang
projects
problema
namin.
nga, kumita kayo doon sa unan yung contract, namili na agad kayo ng mga luxury cars eh. Di ba? Yung mga businessmen na nagsisimula, pag kumita, niro-roll, nire-reinvest. Pero kayo, buying spree. So talagang, you were all prepared to make a killing. Now, tell us the truth. Ano talaga connection nyo?
Actually, yung connection po namin is meron talaga kami access to sa supplier. We are one of the non-exclusive
No, not the supplier, with the government. Ang nag-award sa inyo ng contract, hindi supplier. Ang nag-award ng contract sa inyo, government, through the PSDBM.
we just follow, Mr. Chairman, we just really follow the process. We just
Meeting with
really
Attorney
follow the
Lau for the very first time. Nag-discuss kayo. Nauna pa yung delivery sa PO. Come on, Lincoln.
Mr. Ch-
Anyway, that's all, Mr. Chairman. We cannot squeeze something from, squeeze blood from turnip, so to speak.
Yes, Senator Dillon, go ahead. While the chairman is muted. Unmute.
Okay, where does your wife work, Mr. Ong?
Mr. Chairman, housewife na po siya ngayon.
Housewife na siya ngayon.
Yes po, yes po.
Bago siya maging housewife, saan po siya nagtatrabaho?
Nagtatrabaho siya sa Sun City dati.
Saan? Saan po?
Sa Sun City. Sun City. Sa Sun City, it's a junket.
I'm sorry, I could not understand. Can you help me, Mr. Chairman, as to...
Sun City, you mean SUN?
Yes
Sun
po,
City.
SUN po.
Sun City, and that's a junket gambling operators.
A junket operator sa casino.
Yes po.
Okay. Now, did she ever work with government? No, hindi naman.
No, Mr. Chairman.
So, okay. Now, going back to my previous statement, have you thought it over and will tell us how much did Mr. Yang lend to you for you to be able to fulfill your obligations under your contract with the government?
Mr. Chairman, as long as Mr. Yang is allowing me to, kasi it's a two-way thing eh. Pag okay na sa kanya, I will disclose. I will really want to disclose this.
I am talking about your corporation. Mr. Yang is not a stockholder or an officer of your corporation. You are an officer of your corporation. You admitted that Mr. Yang lent you sums of money to the corporation. I am asking you, how much money did your corporation borrow from Mr. Yang? So I don't have to ask Mr. Yang. I'm asking you.
Mr. Chairman, gusto ko lang talaga i-discuss. I really want to discuss this with my lawyer about the executive session. So para po may open ko sa inyo yung gusto niyong malaman. So i-discuss, I have to discuss with my lawyer. Please allow me.
We wait for our chairman, Senator Gordon. I think he's just taking a break.
Before
I'm here, Mr.
Before that, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, while we're with Mr. Ong and again connected to Mr. Yang, and while Attorney Fortune of Mr. Yang is listening, may I remind Mr. Yang, and I hope the interpreter listens closely, and Lincoln Ong and Attorney Fortune, when a person, including a foreigner, does business in the Philippines, he becomes subject to Philippine laws, like SEC rules and regulations, including amounts of investments, especially with if he has a special investor's visa. And when he becomes a person of interest in a Senate investigation, then he will be required to reveal such business information. Ang covered lang ng secrecy are patents and inventions or baka secret recipe. Kaya tigilan nyo na yung yabang. Tigilan nyo na yung pagsabi na hindi niya may bibigay informasyon. Yeah, you have to. It says in Philippine laws that you have to. So please, translate. Ikaw na mag-translate. Lincoln, total, translator ko ni Mr. Yang natin.
Dear Senate President, dear Chairman, may translator naman siya. Pagod na po talaga ako. I don't work for him anymore. Pagod na ako. Baka po pwede na
That was a little levity. Go ahead, Mr. Translator. Please tell Mr. Yang and Attorney Fortune, please remind your client.
Mr. Yang's translator, are you doing the translation?
Go ahead, go ahead.
So I will be the one to take it. 杨先生，我们的参议长在说，任何一个人，不管是本地人、本国人或者是外国人，在菲律宾做生意的时候呢，一定要遵照菲律宾的法律，比如说 SEC 那个证券交易所的那些条规，然后你投资多少钱，这些资料都一定要对外公布。比如说你是持有那个投资签证，也是要公布你私人在这边投资多少。当然，你刚才说你不是有持有投资签证的，还有就是这一些资料都应该是公布于现在的听证会里。你刚才所说的是私人的秘密，我们的参议长说。可以列为私人秘密或者是秘密的话呢，是那些发明的就是那个发明家的所有权的之类的，这些就能列为那个私人秘密，其他的都一定要公开。
你给他说，我来菲律宾，我也很尊重法律，也尊重菲律宾的法律做生意。我也非常尊重。也一直在努力学习这边的法律，我也想一直在这边发展，这边也是像我第二故乡，我也一直很希望菲律宾好，我们也希望一直留在菲律宾。
According to Mr. Yang, as an investor or in this country, he is also respecting the law of the land. And he's always learning to understand every aspect of the required laws or regulation. He wanted to, or should I say, he treated Philippines as the second hometown, as his second hometown. And he also wanted Philippines to be well and good.
Mr. Chairman. Oh, Mr. Chairman, I see the minority leader raising his hand. I would give way to him first.
Go ahead, Senator Drilon, please.
Yes, Mr. Ong was requesting that we go on executive session because he is willing to tell us everything. Is that a correct recollection, Mr. Ong? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mr. Chairman, I said gusto ko lang makausap yung lawyer ko na maayos before deciding on that. Yun po talaga yung sinabi ko, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry po, I did not understand.
Mr. Chairman, I mentioned a while ago, I really want to consult my lawyer first before deciding on that matter. Yun po.
You are free to consult your lawyer. But now you must answer the question. And if you don't want to answer the question, we will put you in contempt and we will put you in jail. I'm now the dove here. I didn't want you to go to jail. But if you persist on this attitude, then I will have no recourse but to either put you in Bilibid or in the city of Pasay jail, which is nearer to the Senate. Already, Senator Lacson has already started that. And now Senator Drilon, and now Senator Hontiveros. I must warn you, we're trying to bend over backwards for you. You're just the patsy. You are the gopher. Ginamit ka. Ba't hindi ka tumulong? Umampi ka sa Pilipinas, hindi dyan sa mga yan.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Senator Pangilinan.
Yes, the question is to Mr. Lincoln Ong. Are you refusing to answer because you are afraid of the consequences if you tell the truth? Takot ka bang sumagot ng tanong dahil natatakot ka para sa buhay mo?
I don't think uh, well honestly Mr. Chairman medyo there's a lot going on and then
Mahirap talaga kung ayaw mong sabihin yung totoo eh. Talagang mahirap.
hindi naman po ganyan.
Kasi all ko lang naman yun eh. Hindi po ako takot sa buhay ko o takot po ako para sa buhay ko. Yun lang naman yun eh. Hindi naman komplikado yun eh. 'Di ba? Pero parang sa'yo napaka-komplikado. So, kataka-taka.
Mr. Chairman, pwede ko po bang
Simple lang yung tanong kanina, magkano ang perang inutang o iniluwal ni Mr. Michael Yang? Sabi mo, may NDA, hindi pa pwede. Pero magkano? Hindi mo, di ba? Parang mahirap siguro nga magsinungaling. At nariyan ka ngayon dahil nga nagsisinungaling ka. Yan ang ating obserbasyon.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, again, we asked a question, he refuses to answer. Again, an additional ground to have him brought to the New Bilibid prison. Hopefully he recognizes the gravity of refusing to answer. Anim na senador na ang nagtatanong, lahat ayaw mong sagutin. Hindi na namin kasalanan ito. Nasa kamay mo ang iyong kaligtasan kung ikaw ay tutuloy sa Bilibid jail o hindi. Yun lang, it is your decision whether you wish to tell the truth or not.
Mr. Chairman, pwede po ako makahingi ng 5 minutes? Tawagan ko po yung lawyer ko.
I suggest, Mr. Chairman, that you allow him.
I was thinking of other things. You know, Mr. Senate President, I have a lot of things on my mind right now, and there are some personal things that I have to handle. And forgive me if I'm going in and out. But you know, you're not the only one under severe pressure here. Okay, we will allow you to consult your lawyer for 5 minutes. But
Mr. Chair?
it isn't going to exculpate you, my friend. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Antiveros, please. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, if during the 5 minutes I could go back and question Mr. Yang in relation sa pinag-uusapan natin kanina. If I may, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Yang, may tanong ko sa inyo. May pangutana ako sa inyo. Mr. Yang, hindi ko po kayo makita ulit. Nasaan kayo, Mr. Yang? Mr. Michael Yang, andito pa ba kayo?
Mr. Michael Yang, please be aware, Senator Antiveros, that I'm not finished with my examination.
Yes, Mr.
And I just
Chairman.
want everybody to have a crack at him because I know I'm going to go. It's very simple, and the translator can say that, you know. We want to know why so much money is coming in here to Mr. Yang and why Mr. Yang is able to do that. We're very concerned about money laundering, the whole world. And if you'll just allow me one question to Mr. Yang before I give him to you, if you don't mind.
Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Yang, please address yourself to me. It doesn't give me any happiness to put you or anybody in this investigation. Please translate.
It's only 作证. 作证.
Is that all the translation? Please translate properly.
Okay, 他要叫你站起来. Translate, Mr. Chairman.
Translate my question properly. You know, he's getting a lot of leeway here. He can speak in Chinese, we cannot speak in Chinese. And you better translate properly or I'll hold you in contempt.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can I have the question?
I said it doesn't make me happy to have to ask him all these questions. I'm also in discomfort, but I have to ask it. I should do my duty to the Filipino people to protect them. Did you translate? Ling Ling, are you getting a correct translation here?
Senator Cordon, I'll just translate it for you.
Please do that.
我们这个Gordon 参议员说，他说他感觉很抱歉，不高兴，说他自己也感觉不高兴，说要问你这些问题。
要说我都回答了。
What's the answer?
Mr. Yang says he already replied.
What did he reply to? I have not said anything. I just said I was just laying the predicate for my question.
我们的参议
For my question.
我们的参议员说他还没有问你问题，他只是一个开场白而已。那你哪来的回答？他是这样讲。
哦，我以为刚才蔡局说，我刚才问了，我都有回答，我都配合很好啊。
Mr. Yang said he thought that you are referring to the earlier question, and he believed that he has answered properly.
But listen properly. Tell him. Tell him, Ling Ling.
Yeah, 杨先生，请你仔细的聆听一下他将要说的。
I have not treated you badly. I'm just asking direct questions. Please translate.
我没有对你不礼貌的那个对待，我只是想要问问题而已。
And you saw it fit. You saw it fit to say that you have a permanent resident visa and that you're entitled to certain privileges such as privacy in your business affairs.
我知道你有那个居留权，而且你也有那个权利要保有你的隐私权。
At this point, magtatagalog na ako. It's my country. Magtatagalog ako. Now,
现在我会用菲律宾话说。
May visa ka rito, $75,000 ang yung permanent resident visa mo. Tama?
如果你要投资签证的话，要办投资签证的话，应该要有汇款75000元的美金来菲律宾，对吗？
我这个是特色签证，当时旅行社跟律师做的，我都有叫这些做，这个我不太清楚，我以前都给旅行社跟律师他给我做的。
The residence visa I'm holding right now is not investor visa, but the pardon for foreigners who have overstayed here. I avail of that pardon, and I have it processed by the travel agency.
So you're saying, sinasabi mo, pinatawag ka dati, nag-overstay ka rito, pumasok ka on a regular visa, tourist visa, pagkatapos, hihingi ka ng tawad. Tama ba yan?
林丽，我觉得你问刚才翻译的有点不准，他没有说他有超过他的签证吗？
你要对哦，我这个是国大的。
对，特色就是因为你在这边有不正常的那个居留权，才会特色给你，不是吗？
不是，
我不知道，我以前就是菲律宾有这种证，我就人家申请，我也去申请，就办到了。居留这个很多人都办啊。
Okay, Senator Gordon, he is explaining because the translator of Mr. Yang is saying that I may translate incorrectly, but I am clarifying with Mr. Yang for the term he said in Chinese term of permanent residency, which is pardon by the Philippine government. That means to say he has either overstayed or his stay here is not quote and unquote legal. And
no, I think that's wrong, Ling Ling.
It's
that's
not
wrong. 他没有
overstay.
No, he had never overstayed. 你从来没有超过你的 overstay， 对，没有啊，
没有，我正常，我这个证已经都办了好像10几年了。
But how can you avail of the pardon?
It's not pardon， 那个叫做 quota， 对吗
？quota
visa。
菲律宾有1年50名给中国的。
That's a quota visa, not pardon visa.
Stop it. The chair will now rule. We do not accept the translator of Mr. Yang. We have a translator of the government of the Republic of the Philippines. You are not allowed to answer questions propounded by the senator. It will now be officially Ms. Ling Ling who will answer, who will translate the questions, and you are recused. What is your name? The translator, what is your name?
Got it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I want you out of that room.
Copy, Mr. Chairman.
Now, Mr. Lingling, Ms. Lingling, you are now going to be the official translator.
且慢，我先说一下，你翻译要是错，我不回答了，因为你这样对我不利，我不敢回答。
Mr. Yang is making a disclaimer. If the translation is not correct, he will not reply.
Well, you have the advantage. You can speak English, you can speak Chinese, you can speak Tagalog. But we have a translator na kailangan sagutin mo yung tinatanong namin. Alright? You know, a permanent resident visa is not a right, it is a privilege. Translate it, please.
我们参议员说，那个可以永久居留。
It's a privilege that can be withdrawn.
可以永久居留。
Something is wrong with the translation. Every time we ask a difficult question, something happens to the translation. Ling Ling, where are you?
特权。
Can you use a telephone? If you're missing out, use a telephone, a cell phone. Ling Ling. Ling Ling?
Naglalag. Or signal.
I don't know if it's poor signal. I have noticed that for the last 2 occasions. Pagka mahirap yung tanong, biglang nawawala yung signal. Do you have the signal now, Ling Ling?
Wala.
Kawawa naman tayo dito sa bansa natin talaga. Ling Ling, are you there? Well, mga si Ling Ling, Director General, can you call Ling Ling on the phone?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Senator Pangilinan.
I'm willing to, if the chair is willing, I can raise some questions and then we can go back immediately to Mr. Yang when the interpreters are ready because
All right. I just saw Senate President Drilon, while Minority Floor Leader Drilon raised his hands earlier. I just want to give him, because I saw him earlier. Did you want to ask a question, Minority Floor Leader, before Senator Pangilinan?
Yes. Well, I have other questions on other areas. I don't want my colleague, the chairman and my colleagues to lose the trend of the questioning on this particular issue. I have other issues to inquire for, but it can wait, Mr. Chairman.
With Mr. Yang, Mr. Minority Floor Leader, with Mr. Yang, is it?
No, not with Mr. Yang. Other issues, Mr. Chairman. I think that's what the minority leader said. I also have other issues, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Senator Gigor, you know the interpreter for Senator Drilon. The last time I heard he was a Filipino. I'm just trying to make light of it because really, I don't understand it. I mean, lamang na ito. Nakakasalita sila ng Chinese. Nakakapag-negosyo sila sa atin dito. Akala mo, tayo pang may utang na loob. Hindi naman, alam mo, parehas naman tayo eh. Hindi naman sila pinapahirapan dito eh. Tatlo lang tayo dahil gumastos ng malaki ang gobyerno natin para mas ligtas yung mga tao natin. Tapos, pinapasyal tayo lahat ng mga testigo at nasa gitna siya ng ipo-ipo na lumaspag sa pera ng gobyerno. Tama po ba yun, mga senators? Tama po ba yung sinasabi ko?
I agree.
Sobrang tapang ng apog. Sampasyaw sa Chinese.
Mr. Chairman.
Sampasyaw. Yes, go ahead. Senator Risa, please.
Mr. Chairman.
When you raise your hand, I get really, just go ahead. Ask your question. What's your comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, meron pa sana akong tanong kay Mr. Yang. And if the chair will bear with me and our colleagues. Pero kasi, di ba, sabi ni Mr. Yang dati, nakakaintindi siya ng simpleng Tagalog. Subukan ko kaya, Mr. Chairman, magtanong sa kanila ng mga simpleng tanong sa Tagalog.
Waste your time, please. As a lawyer, I would not advise you to do that.
Chairman.
No. Yes,
Alright.
Kiko, go ahead. I have a
Yes.
question.
Yeah, well, no, may I just raise a few questions on another matter while we're waiting for the interpreter to...
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is for Mr.
Sorry,
Owa.
I'm sorry. Sometimes there's just so many things going on in their lives right now. The Philippines ay nasa gitna tayo ng isang krisis na malaki. Ang daming namamatay. Alright? Tapos nakita natin ito. Hindi naman natin ginusto ito. Hindi naman natin imbestigahin ito kung talagang hindi garapal yung nangyari dito. Sobrang garapal ito. Beyond description. Talagang it is the mother of all corruption. Bakit hindi tayo makapag-imbestiga na matino dito? So please go ahead, Senator.
Thank you. I have a few questions for Mr. Owayan from the DBMPS. Is he still around?
Mr. Owayan.
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon. Our OIC Executive Director sent a letter wishing to be excused for today's hearing.
Okay, so you will represent the DBMPS?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm Director Jolas Brutas from Operations Group.
Okay, is the operations group involved in the sending of submissions of documents to the Senate?
Part of the documents, Mr. Chairman, with respect to the deliveries and inspections.
Yes, so it is your operations group that did this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. How many are you in the operations group?
In the office of the OG proper, I think 5 or 7. But under the operations group, there are other divisions, the warehouse and the inspection.
So these 7 are the ones directly involved in submitting via Google Docs the materials for as requested, the inspection reports, the purchase orders?
It involves various offices, Mr. Chairman. I think the operations, the procurement group is also part of the offices that submitted these documents.
So the procurement group, ilan sila?
I think
do you personally upload these documents sa DBMP sa Google Docs?
No, Mr. Chairman.
So who does?
I instructed for the operations group. I instructed my staff to do
Can I have their names? What are their names? Who is your staff?
For the warehouse, Mr. Chairman, it's
those involved in submitting the Google Docs to the Blue Ribbon Committee. Would you know who they are?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, it was the office of the Executive Director who submitted the consolidated.
That's why I was looking for him. Does he have an assistant around?
Yeah.
He has to answer these questions. Who would be, apart from you? You said you have 7 staff who you instructed to forward documents. Which documents were these that you instructed your staff to submit?
For our office, Mr. Chairman, it pertains to the inspection reports.
Yes.
So
So
that's
who were the 7? Can you give me the 7? Who were they? The 7 names?
For the inspection documents, Mr. Chairman, it's Engineer Augusto Ilagan, the current inspection division chief.
Okay.
For the delivery documents, it's Miss Catherine Mirabel, the chief of the warehousing and delivery division.
Okay. So the inspection reports is engineer, what's his name?
Augusto Ilagan.
Okay, Augusto Ilagan. We raised these questions, Mr. Bruta. What is your last name?
Brutas, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, we raised this question because in the Google Docs application or program, you submitted through Mr. Owayan or Attorney Owayan on September 10 some of the documents that we had requested. No. This includes the inspection and acceptance reports. That's under your office, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Inspection and evaluation reports. Kayo rin yun, no? Okay, good. And the inspection and certification of acceptance reports. That's also your office, right? Yes.
That's correct. Yeah.
So good, you can answer the question. In the morning, there were 19 documents that were uploaded. Yeah. And my staff went through it. And then when we had our hearing in the afternoon and the session, when we went back in the afternoon of September 10, 10 documents were no longer uploaded. They were missing. Would you care to explain how did this happen?
May we know the date of the submission, Mr. Chairman? September
10, di ba? It was submitted at 7:43 a.m. Cover letter was signed by Attorney Uwayan, OIC, and the cover letter was dated September 9. So the email contained the link to the Google Drive, which is administered by your office. And each folder is named after the PO, purchase order, number of the contract purchase. In other words, sa bawat PO, merong acceptance report, di ba? So by 9 a.m., we started downloading a number of these reports, and we have them. And one of these reports, Mr. Brutas ba? Doon namin nakita yung 6-month expiry, di ba? Doon natin nakita yung mga tinanggap. Ang problema, no? Kasama doon yung na-download yung Pharmaly contracts, Philippine Blue Cross, Cosmic Technology, PhilPharmWell, di ba? So, ang nakita namin biglang nawawala na nung hapon at around 5 p.m., yung inspection report for PO, yung 600 million ng Pharmaly, suddenly hindi na makita. Yung inspection report ng 688 million ulit ng Pharmaly, hindi naman nakita. At initially, akala namin technical glitch. Di ba? Pero, merong mga supplemental submissions na binigay ng komite, sa komite. No? So ito ang mga sumusunod. No? This is 4.4 billion pesos worth of purchases na nawawala ang 19. Di ba? 19 inspection reports. It was there in the morning and it was no longer uploaded, and somebody from your end took it down. So yun ang and then of the 39 total POs, of the POs that you submitted, 39 walang inspection reports. Ayan. These are the items na we saw it in the morning, we were downloading it. In fact, doon sa Pharmaly, sa 4 na report, isa lang yung na-download namin eh. Tapos yung 1, 2, and 3 reports, sa umaga, naroon pa. Pagdating sa hapon, nawala na. Hanggang ngayon, wala lahat sila. So, nagtataka kami, bakit biglang nawawala itong mga inspection reports? Would you care to clarify?
Mr. Chairman, I think the earlier submission pertains to PPE sets and loose items. I think that's for the September 10 submission. So that's why I suppose that's the reason why some of the items with respect to some of the inspection reports with respect to the test kits were, if it's true, if our staff really removed these items from the earlier submission. But anyway, Mr. Chairman, I think we already submitted as of recently a complete set of the ICARs and inspection reports for all the items.
That is not, my understanding is, in my conversation with some of the members of the Blue Ribbon Committee staff, kulang yung mga submissions din ninyo. So it is not true. Maybe you're unaware that somebody in your staff is doing something behind your back. Hindi ko alam.
We'll have it checked, Mr. Chairman. and we'll make sure that the
Ayan.
latest version is
Deleted from submissions. Yung thermogun, wala, missing. Inspection evaluation report, missing. Diba? Wala yung ano dyan. Wala yung inspection report. Yan din. Wala rin yung inspection report sa BGI. So it's not true that you were able to submit it. Up until now, you check your own Google Docs. Mr. Chairman, apparently Mr. Brutas is not in the position to respond because he is not aware or he's not familiar. But as I said earlier, 19 documents that were previously uploaded in the morning of September 10 went missing by 5 p.m. of the same day. And part of this,
May I also just follow up on your line of questioning, because I have my staff pick up a document that suddenly disappeared in the PSDBM, and I will cite it to you and I will show it to you. On the matter of the last transaction of Mr. Lau, if I'm not mistaken. Queenie, can you show it to me, Rudy?
There now. PO 21.
This is PO 21 00197 CSE, and you may you may show that it says here that the files were deleted by PSDBM from its original submission to the Blue Ribbon Committee. It's a good thing that Attorney Queenie of the Blue Ribbon Committee was able to take down notes, but when he took a look at it later on, it was all removed by the PSDBM. And was it not true, Secretary Pangilinan, that you got an answer that it all comes from the Google Docs of PSDBM, under the office of the Executive Director, who happens to be Mr. Lau? Am I correct? Am I correct?
Well, today it's Mr. Owayan who is the Executive Director, and he is missing. He's not present.
Well, magiging missing na yung marami because talaga nagluluto na sila ng papel eh.
Mr. Chairman, for the record.
Records.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for the records, it is precisely the documents that we were able to download in the morning, the inspection reports that established that the shelf life of 6 months and the delivery dates were present. And it was also in those documents that we were able to establish that it was formally. And we'd like to note that of the 19 documents, Mr. President, the total amount involved in the 19 missing documents, it's about 4.4 billion pesos worth of purchases.
4.4 billion.
Yes. So, yun po. Ang mga kontrata na wala bigla nung hapon, yung mga thermoguns, various medicines ng Medico, yung sa Pharmaly na 8,000 kits, wala yung inspection report, yung 2,000 kits na A-Star ng Pharmaly, wala rin. 41,000 BGI kits. And then, in other words, ngayon hindi na natin ma-check at wala na ron yung mga resulta ng inspection results. Siguro binabago na, hindi ko alam, pero ba't nawawala? Nandun ng umaga, nawala ng hapon. And it's only the PSDBM who has access to these Google Doc.
Yes, question, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Brutas. Who is in charge of this? Who has control over these electronic documents?
Mr. Chairman, it was the Google Drive. The access to this Google Drive was given to the concerned inspection officers and those officials and employees who has custody over the documents.
Who can upload and remove the documents? Give me a name.
I'll check first, Mr. Chairman, the exact names.
You gave an engineer. You gave the name of the engineer. I asked you that earlier, Mr. Brutas.
He is the head of the inspection division was
Yes. So
in
he has
charge.
access. He has access to this. He was
I
the
believe
one.
so, Mr. Chairman.
You told me earlier he was the one. In your staff, they were the one uploading the reports, diba? The inspection reports. Do you have access, Mr. Brutus?
I have access, Mr. Chairman, but I'm not the one directly uploading and editing these
Does
documents.
Mr. Owayan have access?
I think he has, but currently, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, he contracted COVID-19. That's the reason why he was not able to attend this hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to debate with Mr. Brutus on this. I think the public is entitled to know. Mr. Brutus, let me warn you, this is a public document. This is a public document. I would suggest to the good chairman, to our good chairman, compel them to produce. And again, you don't stop playing around with us, These are public documents, and there is such a crime under the penal code. Infidelity in the custody of public
documents. Yeah.
That is a criminal offense. To give you, Mr. Brutus, an opportunity and not get into trouble, I would suggest you show to the committee and give to the committee copies of these documents which disappeared from the electronic files. Would you do that?
Mr. Chairman, actually, the earlier submission pertains to the PPE sets and loose items.
Never mind. What we are looking for were the documents which were there and disappeared. Whether or not it pertains to whatever subject, it was there, specified, and then it disappeared. Senator Pangilinan is just looking for that. Can you put
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We already provided a latest Google Drive containing all the inspection documents pertaining to all items. But may I just clarify that the earlier submission, I can only assume the reason why some of the documents were removed, because the earlier submission pertains to PPE sets and loose items only. So that may be the reason why some of the documents.
The submissions were on test kits. We already downloaded it. We already were able to download most of the and for the record, Mr. Chairman, most of the inspection reports deleted were on test kits. So I don't know why you're bringing us to PPEs. I know that's your file. That's your Google Docs. Your office submitted that. In the morning, it was there. In the afternoon, they were missing. We were able to download 8 or 9, thankfully, because 19 all in all. And of the 9 that we downloaded, all 9 are still missing. At least in your we have it because we were able to download it. But up until today, wala yung. And if we did not download it, we wouldn't have known that the expiry dates were 6 months. And if we didn't download it, Mr. Chairman, for the record, there is one document showing that Parmalee delivered the test kits with 2 months left. It was supposed to expire in 2 months. Ayan, no? Date of delivery, September 11, 2020. Expiry, November 21, 2020. Tinanggap pa rin ng DBMPS, tinanggap pa rin ng mga inspection. So ito, dapat 6 months. Ito 2 months na lang. Tinanggap pa rin. Tapos, ngayon, itong dokumentong ito na na-download namin, wala na ngayon. Doon sa Google Docs na sinubmit. Mr. Chairman, I suggest that the Sergeant at Arms look into this incident and try and find out, are we being hoodwinked? Are documents being withheld? Is there a cover-up? Is DBMPS staff involved in a cover-up?
Senator Pangilinan, I think the point is very well taken. And I would like to call Attorney Queenie Evangelista of the Blue Ribbon Committee, and they will show you a document that clearly shows that these people are really deliberately filching with the documents, and they are really tampering with official documents of the country, and they could really be prosecuted for that. Okay, Attorney Queenie Evangelista, please show yourself and put yourself under oath. Put her under oath, Director Kimbo.
Yes, Your Honor. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding, Ms. Evangelista?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Can you put on your video, Queenie, please, Attorney Queenie? Attorney Queenie, please put on your
Yes,
video.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Could you please explain the this strange event that happened to us and give the background and the context, please? Go ahead.
So, sir, upon the instruction of the Blue Ribbon Chairman, PSDBM submitted documents through email via Google Drive. Contained in that Google Drive was a particular document, particular set of documents referring to Parmali transactions of 2021, PPE transactions of 2021.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So they were uploaded on August 26, and we reviewed the files. We were able to make a timeline based on those files. After making the timeline, we tried to review the documents again a week after, and we found that the whole set of documents were missing already from the Google Drive originally submitted by PSDBM. That's it.
And where do we get the documents? From the Office of the Executive Director, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who is that right now?
Attorney Uwayan, sir.
Attorney Wayan. All right.
Your Honor.
And what is the role, Attorney, what is your name? The gentleman that was being asked earlier by
Director Brutas, Mr. Chairman.
Brutas, how do you explain that?
Mr. Chairman, I'm trying to verify that. I'll have it investigated who removed such document upon submission. But anyway, we undertake to, we will report this matter to the committee after completion of this investigation. But we undertake if there are missing documents or if we fail to submit some of the inspection documents, and we undertake to submit it as soon as possible, Mr. Chairman. We'll check our latest submission if there are indeed missing documents submitted.
Attorney Queenie, how much was involved in this particular document, please? Attorney Queenie, Evangelista?
Yes, sir. I'm checking the file, sir. Sir, it's 507.261 million, so $500 million pesos.
$500 million.
Yes, sir. PPE sets of 517,613 units.
And this was bought when?
Sir, April 22, 2021. From our records, it was the last transaction signed by Yusek Lao.
That's correct. So now somebody is cleaning up where the mess that he left behind. That is how it would appear. And it's a good thing, and I commend you for the entire country.
Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, again, I will reiterate, the missing documents, most of them were testing kits from Parmali, primarily. And again, the total number of purchases or the amount is 4.4 billion pesos worth of purchases, where the inspection reports are now missing.
I wish you could really just simply laugh about it, but talagang with impunity and with complete disregard of acceptable social behavior in a country that is supposed to follow the rule of law. We have thrown the rules of law outside the window. and we're stepping on the rights of the people of this country.
Mukhang meron ho talaga naglilinis dahil uulitin ko po, kung hindi namin na-download yung isang dokumento, nagpapatunay dun sa dokumento na nga, uulitin ko, na 2 months na lang expired na yung testing kits. 2 months, tinanggap pa rin ng DBMPS.
Let me just explain the nature of the document, and I will read it to you. And do you mind if you see it, show it so everybody can read it? This is document P021 00197 CSC, and this is involving issues on the YR 2021 2021 family transaction signed by Lau before leaving PSDBM. And this is what it says. Number 1, only one bidder. This is already in April 2021. That's 1 year after the dastardly act of the series of biddings that were really super huge, when there were several, if not a lot, of PPE manufacturers. In April 2021, there were already a lot of PPE manufacturers, not unlike PPEs in 2020. After receiving bid of Pharmaly, Special Bids and Awards Committee, SBAC, immediately evaluated and resolved to negotiate with Pharmaly on the same day. 2 days after the SBAC held the meeting on a Saturday, mind you, on a Saturday afternoon, semicolon, minutes of the meeting show that SBAC TWG found 7 issues on the items bid of Pharmaly. And I can show you those items later on. Monday after, SBAC immediately declared Pharmaly a supplier with technical, legal, and financial capability to supply and deliver PPE. SBAC resolution approved by Lau on what grounds? That's what we're asking. Now, Queenie, can you show the 7 issues that were raised by the TWG?
Yes, sir.
Now, mind you, this is a TWG of PSDBM. And remember also that all these people working at PSDBM are contractuals. And they have the sword of Lao upon their heads. They can be removed peremptorily. And is it there already, Queenie?
Mr. Chairman, on that point, may I just place on record a matter point of information that we have also uncovered that about 84 contractuals were removed and were not renewed in 2020 and 2021. And yet the same amount of number of contractuals were hired, pretty much.
Well, maybe we should subpoena all these 84.
361 po ang kanilang ang contractuals, tinanggal yung 84, which is pretty much a massacre, and then they hired new.
So how many, just as an inquiry, how many employees would PSDBM have?
About 361 based on their record. Now I think it's 364, but 360 plus.
360.
Out of 364.
Yes, and they removed 84 in 2020 and 2021 and replaced them with about the same number.
By your leave, gentlemen, I'd like to proceed here so I can go to Mr. Yang.
Yes, please, just for the record.
P021 00197 CSC issues on the YR year 2021 Pharmaly transaction signed by Lau before leaving PSDBM. Only one bidder. This is already in April 2021, mind you, when there were several, if not a lot, of PPE manufacturers. I hope that is not lost on the committee. Number 2, after receiving bid of Pharmaly, Special Bids and Awards Committee immediately evaluated and resolved to negotiate with Pharmaly on the same day. Number 3, 2 days after SBAC held the meeting on a Saturday afternoon, minutes of the SB meeting showed that SBAC TWG found 7 issues on the items / bid of Pharmaly. Number 4, Monday after, SBAC immediately declared Family a supplier with technical, legal, and financial capability to supply and deliver PPE in spite of the 7 issues. 5. PSDBM claims urgent need for PPE, and yet Family only had 10% of stocks needed at time of bidding, and procedurally, Family was allowed additional more than 2 months, 74 days to deliver, and this is undue advantage, Mr. President. My fellow senators. 10% lang ang stock nila. Akala ko ba urgent, ba't binigyan nyo ng 2 months, 74 days to deliver? Next. Next, please. Violation of RA 11494, Bayanihan 2. Section 4, U. Provided furthermore that the Department of Budget and Management, Procurement Service, DBMPS, or the concerned procuring entity shall make the award to the lowest domestic manufacturer bidder, notwithstanding that its bid is 15% in excess of the lowest foreign bid. Provided furthermore that it secures from the DTI a certification that the articles forming part of its bid are substantially composed of articles, materials, or supplies grown, produced, or manufactured in the Philippines. Attorney Evangelista, did they comply with that provision?
Sir, Family is not a manufacturer,
Right?
so it was a violation of the Bayanihan 2 provision, sir.
And the next paragraph will show. Next paragraph, please. However, files were deleted by PSDBM from its original submission to the Blue Ribbon Committee, https://drive.google.com/drive/folders/J4B2 underscore 3NT capital OQS underscore capital E small e 6 XHSB capital Z 7HU capital U 9F capital F V capital A Z capital J capital F D semicolon not found in the latest submissions of PSDBM. Price analysis, which is required, and other documents related or relative to COVID-19 procurement projects 12 September 2021. So they're violating everything left and right, and they're trying to hide evidence from this committee, Mr. President. I think it speaks for itself, along with the evidence presented by Senator Pangilinan. I think it's now time to really drop the boom on these manufacturers headed by Christopher Lau. Now let me go back to Mr. Yang.
Just a few just a request of submissions, Mr. President, very quickly. May we request the DBMPS to submit all names of personnel with access to Google Docs. Submit all the names of their personnel in DBMPS who have access to Google Docs. And second, maybe we ask them to submit all of the 84 personnel who were not renewed. How many years were they in the DBMPS? And who were the 95 that you eventually hired? Because 375 na pala, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, yung empleyado nila ngayon. From 361 in 2020, 375 na ngayon. So just a submission, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
So ordered.
We will comply, Mr. Chairman.
Director General must comply with the request of Senator Pangilinan. And just to complete what I was trying to say earlier, and these are the issues regarding Family on that last, on 22nd April. And please read, bidder failed to submit required authorization of distributorship and not supported by authentication from the Philippine Embassy. 2. Non-submission of ISO certificate. 3. Non-submission of FDA certificate of medical device notification. Bidder explained that they have a pending application, but there were few lacking documents, so incomplete documentation. 4. Non-submission of FDA certificate of product registration. Bidder submitted an expired FDA CPR. 5. Non-submission of marketing authorization or red ribbon certificate from Philippine Consulate. So from the red ribbon, now they're before the blue ribbon. 6. Test report for gloves is different for National Food Safety Standard rubber materials. 7. Submitted sample for particulate respirator was then compliant to the technical specifications. 8. Delivery requirements shall be within 20 calendar days with no extension upon receipt of notice to proceed. 9. Bidder declared that they currently have 50,000 items. Attorney Evangelista, please complete your story concerning these issues. Were they all listened to by the PSDBM or were they ignored?
Sir, there were no replies to those issues. And then 2 days after, PSDBM already decided to award the contract to Pharmaly, despite those issues.
And if you go back to all the orders of Pharmaly, and I think you can go